never fallen back and, you know, said, where are you? And, you know, you build systems.
Yeah.
You make sure that you're documenting what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that there is no gap in knowledge. So for me, knowledge management is very critical.
Yeah.
So even when people leave an organization, you must leave it in a way that is professional. I've seen organizations where people just, tomorrow they disappear, they're not there. That is a bad practice.
Yeah.
Change is inevitable. And it must happen because of the changes in the world that we're seeing in terms of technology, in terms of, you know, the circumstances we're in. It's so important that you continuously monitor the environment, whether it is internal or external, and see how to overcome, especially the negative shocks that may come through maybe change of policy. COVID has happened, and people have been, those who didn't want to change, who didn't want to learn computer, have no choice now. Now, they are going to struggle because they missed opportunities to adopt to the change that is happening. So managing change for me is looking within an organization and seeing what has to change. For instance, the organization culture. If you find a culture of, not only you talk about laissez-faire leadership, but there's also laissez-faire kind of behaviors among staff. You find where you have people leave their coats on the seats. You're waiting for an officer, it is his coat there. It's a Monday. It's a Friday, they are gone. So you know you're seeing cultures, you're seeing behaviors which need to be changed through the values that you must bring into an organization. So you realize you must set up systems, and you must be tough about some of the changes. Sometimes it doesn't go well for you, but you have to do the right thing. Because if you want to move from here to there, you must have a clear vision, and you must have clear strategies on how to reach there, including punitive measures. It's very important. So for me, in an organization, for instance, to change the culture, it's a big one. Change that culture of where people come at 10 a.m. and they leave at 3. Or people come early and they're actually not doing anything. So a change process could be having a result-based system where you account for results. And you may not like it. But what do? That is what you want to see. You want to be honest, you want to be accountable, you want to account for results, you want to see impact, you want to see changes in people's lives. So that means you've got to do something that even is unpopular, but for the right cause. So for me, managing change is not very easy. You may get the struggles, like your vision may conflict with others. But what do? You stand to what you do. And if you find that, for instance, the values are conflicting with what is there, you can't change something. Move on. Because why would you change your values if you find, for instance, the things that you cherish, and I talk about values, and you're not getting the opportunity to be what you want to be, you go. In leadership, sometimes there are many people I know who are stuck because they feel the name of the organization is what, is popular. There could be good leaders out there, but they are stuck because of reputation of the organization. Yet the world is waiting to see them.
They have actually outgrown this space.
They have outgrown the space. They are so afraid of change. I am not afraid of change. I move, even if it means taking risks, but for the right reasons. Once you check are right, and you feel you can make a contribution somewhere.
Correct.
It is good to lose something, but you gain it along the way. So for me, that change has to be well thought. What is it I want to change? How does that resonate around my values? How does it help me? For instance, it was so helpful for me to have more time with my children, which was very difficult in Kampala now because, traffic jam. You lose 6 hours in traffic. You reach home when the kids are sleeping, you leave when they're sleeping. As a mother, for me, that was not something that, it was already conflicting with my values. I had to do something to make sure that I am able to be busy as a CEO, as an ED in work, but still knowing what is going on in my home and making sure that the children are growing up with values, that when you come to my home, you're not embarrassed by what you see there. So balancing, as a woman, it's so tricky, balancing between leadership in the office and even at home. It's not easy, but it is possible to achieve it. So I see many women held behind because they're also afraid. Maybe their husbands are not encouraging them to do what they want to do. And life is to be lived once. You, as an individual in this world, have been put for a purpose here. And once you understand that you are, an ambassador in this world, and you have a purpose to fulfill on this world, you're not afraid of even what your husband may say. He will catch along the vision as you go. But you move. And along the way, he'll say you took the right decision. So I really encourage people out there that sometimes change is inevitable. You've got to change. And sometimes people insist on holding on when everything is falling apart. You're going to fall eventually. Because it's like an ice. You have an ice and there is sun. Slowly it is melting away, but you're still holding on. You remain and fall. So you need to take the change and move. Sometimes it's a tough decision, but you must move the change.
Wow.
You must act so that you reach where you want to reach. Because the vision that you had before, this is how many years now back. Align it to the context today. Align it to the challenges and opportunities that you see today, like with COVID now. There's so much that we can do. Yes, there is a problem, but for every problem, there is a solution. So you have got to change some of the, your activities, your actions, in order to bring that positive change that you want to see.
Wow. Well, we're talking to Jennifer Okusia Erejo. She is the Executive Director of Bosco Uganda, and I can tell you the nominations were not in vain. She is really fit for where she's going. Jennifer, we want to just encourage people to send in their kisses and disses coming. If Jennifer is doing well, kiss us. If she's not doing well, please diss us. We're okay. We will be able to respond to you. And please set your questions ready for Jennifer. We'll be able to try and pick a couple of 2 or 3 questions coming from all the viewers all out there and all across the world onto this topic of the CEO bench and leadership change management and transformation. Jennifer, let me drive you to a very specific part of the show, which is, closing change management, going to transformation, as it is here on the show. When you speak with a lot of passion, you speak with a lot of energy, you speak with a lot of, drive and self-motivation. How does it feel to be leading an organization at the forefront of digital technology and connectivity founded by the Catholic Church? And of course, the essential, as we know, as a young mother from Uganda, from a young girl from Arua, with all the background you've given, how does it feel like to be now at the forefront of this organization that usually are led by men, not women?
It feels great. It feels great because there's so much we can do today with technology, with ICT, to transform lives, to transform even business operations, to transform organizations. We've seen many organizations struggling. The cost of internet is still very, very expensive, very, very high for many people. It's not affordable with the commercial networks. It's quite expensive. So Bosco Uganda gives support to organizations that actually aids their work. They get it at a very, very low cost. It is really actually free, especially like the Archdiocese, the Archbishop. He's supported. He's our father, and he's supported to even live stream, and he's reaching out to the people in this period where there's a lockdown and you can't even go to church anymore. So we're seeing radio stations in the region who are broadcasting using our platform live to the audiences. So we're supporting other institutions to even achieve their missions and their visions, their goals. That is something beautiful that Bosco Uganda is doing. And we thank actually NITAU, we thank UCC that supported a community network organization like Bosco Uganda to exist. Completely not-for-profit organization that looks at communities and sees how to to end the digital isolation for many people. We have wireless network in an office. People can access, internet from wherever they are with the hotspots and be able to work. That is something that Bosco Uganda, I just love the organization because they were seeing very far. They had very good insight. The founders had such beautiful vision of the future, way before, this technology was even here. So for me, it's something that is beautiful. The potential of what we can do is amazing. For instance, if we go to a health center now and digitalize data so that they no longer have to spend time writing long notes, in the registers. You feel Jennifer, your age, your sex, and so on and so forth. You know, these registers are so many. There's even no store for keeping the register. Digitalize that information so that you're able to even trace who is coming to the facility, improve diagnosis, improve care, so that the doctors, the nurses are able to see who came in. I have been privileged through, I think, working with an international organization to attend medical care in a private hospital. And I saw from the triage, a system where you walk in, the doctor already has your record before you even come in. But in this manual system, you are going to start telling your story again. So with technology, the potential of even improving health service delivery is amazing. You can, for instance, we've seen some partners do, for instance, something on addressing mortality rates, you know, death among children, that is like say under 1 year, using technology. The doctor is able to monitor the health of the children and even improve diagnosis. So with technology, there is so much that we can do. We can have students studying from home. Many schools now are doing virtual. If you see the schools in the northern region, many of them are very rural. They don't have power. They don't have even a single computer. Many schools don't have a computer. So as Bosco Uganda, coming in and providing them with computer, providing them a network system, an intranet system within the school system so that there are networks, the students can go learn basic computer skills. We are building up leaders, we're building up Ugandans who are digitally literate. And these people are going to be able to do their own coursework. For us, we learned computer in the university. We didn't. I learned it at university. I was lucky. A cousin of mine told me, you need to attend, you need to go and learn computer. In 2 weeks, I was able to learn, and I took off. That, how do I say, just a little support as good as giving people basic skills sets them to move and discover themselves. So now with internet connection, what can they not do? Students are going to, we're going to still, how do I say, improve education, the quality of education. We see the networking, say a rural school partnering with a Kampala school, or that is having teachers being able to broadcast and exchange materials online. And we're going to carry the same vision of, because we want to see our citizens better. So with Bosco Uganda, there's so much opportunity we have available to support education, health, even agriculture. We've seen people use the apps to, you know, to study the health of your, you know, your farm. So use technology to develop. And that's why I love what we're doing, because I bring in the aspect of development. I'm not a technician, but I tell them if people do not understand and use it, then it is useless. It has got to make a difference in the lives of the people. It's not about knowing, like now, you may not even know what comes into the camera, how it is, but you must know how to operate it and use it for something good. So we see technology bridging up with whatever we want to, you know, the gap that we have in the sector, and what kind of solutions can we design to using the technology to take people, leapfrog people to another level. We can actually catch up in this period of COVID, the losses through technology, and that is possible. So Bosco Uganda having community networks, you know, having ICTs, 54 ICT centers, these need to be strengthened. We need to see, I want to see, how do I say, when anyone walks into the center, even women, go there and find a content, say for instance, how to make cakes, bakery and so on. Learn it from the ICT center, go home and do it, start a business. These are possibilities you can do with technology. And this is what you are This is the vision. This is what you want to take into Thank you. Uganda. This is what I want to bring, increased content, have content available, relevant content that is going to transform lives. I have learned a lot from the YouTube on how to make cakes. I don't need to come to an expensive school in Kampala. You can use it technology for it. Just get people exposed towards something and they see the good thing about it and they take off. So we can see that with technology, with ICT, women can transform their lives right from the home. You walk to an ICT center that is near you. Students, even at home, can walk to the center. If you have internet, you know, a wireless system, hotspots available, like in the market in Gulu, we established the hotspots, and the women during the COVID, you can use it to sell, find market prices. Farmers are using it to find prices of, you know, of their products. Network, you know, the possibilities. You open people to the world and take them away from their small world. You know, open them up. People are doing businesses, you know, electronically. So that's the beauty of Bosco Uganda. I see so much that can be done. What you're talking about. I can see through it, and I want you to share your questions if you have for Jennifer. But Jennifer, our time is being fast spent, but I want to take you to a more specific questions on faith-based. You are going into a what we call a faith-based organization,
and started by church as a church installation and the Catholic faith. What does faith, hope, inspiration, confidence, and success mean to you as a person? First of all, as a leader, as a person going in there as an executive director, especially in the light of consequences and effects of the pandemic COVID-19?
I can quickly say that faith is what has made me today, and hope. When you have those challenges, some people have taken shortcuts and they are far. Some are gone, they are dead because of the decisions they took. But having faith in God, prayer is so important. For young people out there, I really tell them, my girls know that, even my little children, 2-year-old, prays. They all pray. They're learning how to pray. I'm building that foundation in them. They learn. I self-learned how to do these things, but I have made sure that for myself, my family is a prayerful family. These are values that they cherish. The children pray. They pray for me. You hear them pray, God bless mommy. Many of the things that I'm getting, God answers the prayers of little children. So faith for me from childhood was so critical. Faith, hope. It makes you believe in possibilities beyond where you are. You see things and you actually affirm things. Like poverty, I said, poverty, I must kick it out of the family. I said, my family, I'll be the first graduate. My siblings will not, will not remain uneducated, because I believe very much that with God, all things are possible. So for me, at an individual level, this faith has brought me so far with the values that I cherish today, of honesty, hard work, trustworthy, transparency, and so on. So these things guide me, and this came for me from the church. Being an active Christian, a Catholic, I am a Catholic, but I'm very, I love God, and I can do nothing without him. I really do believe that the values that we have, the challenges we have, if you don't have God, you get swayed away. You get into the popularity thing, and before you know it, you're gone. But when you stick to your God, he never fails you. He actually comes through. And every time I had a challenge, there was always, he just made a way. God truly makes a way where there seems to be no way. And being in the Catholic Church, I really want to see that we're supporting not only the church, but it's an organization that reaches out to regardless of faith. We've established ICT centers in mosques, in Muslims schools. And that is important for us, because you're looking at humanity. With faith is, you look at the human aspect of people. And you, regardless of race, religion, gender, sex, you're looking at the human person, and you want, what you want for yourself should be the same for others. Selfishness does not help us. I really do believe that there is more blessing in giving than in receiving. There is more blessing in giving than receiving. So I have seen people like Peter Nyeko, and he's a giver. I wouldn't be here without some people like him. What he's going to work on and what we are going to build together, working on to support health centers now have energy, 1.5 kilowatt energy in health center 2s and 3s. That is going to transform lives. Because I think these are some of the values that we commonly share, that we want to see people's lives change. We want to improve, access. We want to provide an ambulance to people so that they transport mothers who are pregnant to facilities, help those facilities people do better with their lives. So for me, faith at a personal level, it's driving me to the organization. And even as I move out, it's so critical for me. I just want to see, be, that light, the light of Christ that shines. And that for me is a big thing. Be the light, bring light where there's darkness. Give hope for other people. Let them see that you can, they're where they are now, they will also be somebody at some time. You don't have to be a perfect leader, but if you have the values and if you cherish the things that you do, the sky is the limit.
Wow. Jennifer, Uganda has a very interesting number of people. I want to localize this and bring it down to the African context. The African continent have a diversity of many people thinking in a different perspective altogether. The attitude and perception of people are very different. But bring it down here at home in Uganda, particularly most Ugandans, or Uganda is mostly a country that is friendly to many people, likes to receive as many people as possible. And in recent times and in recent years, we've seen Uganda as, a country that receives as many refugees as possible. But also pressure is beginning to build, in a sense that people are beginning to see that the space is going, and there's a lot of, now small talks and, brewing issues happening between the refugee communities and then the local indigenous people in this space. But yet, Uganda is one of the country in Africa that mostly rural and agricultural, based. As a country, we are blessed with the soil, but we also host as more refugees as possible compared to most of the cities or countries across Africa, or even in the world. There's no country in the world that is hosting more refugees than Uganda. Yeah. All right? And when you look at this, what is the biggest challenge in the rural and refugee hosting communities that you are inspired to transform through your work? We're getting into the transformation part of this program, the CEO Bench.
Thank you. Well, the challenges in the rural areas are just too many.
Yeah.
As I said, I just came from doing a study in the West Nile, and I looked back at the roads, the road network, the distance from one facility to the next referral.
Yeah.
You have a facility, and the next referral is, say, if you are in Madiokolo, they will tell you the next referral is Arua Hospital, 50 kilometers away.
Yes.
If you were a mother,
about to give birth,
in Lebanon, you failed, the labor's failed.
Yeah.
You are as good as really gone. Yeah. Because there's no transport. Some districts have only one ambulance for the entire district, and if you call for the ambulance, it has taken someone to Mulago or to Lacho Hospital. Wow. That is so sad. So sad. So I looked at the women there and I said, they are really, I looked at them, I said, God bless the women.
Yeah.
This is resilience. I mean, you're still able to give birth in a situation where you're not sure of medical care, and that is not easy. So refugees are coming in. I know there's some development coming in with partners coming to support, which is a great thing, that you have different partners, international partners, even the local organizations putting an effort to help, but there's still so much need. There's need to build up health centers, at least at a level 3. All centers should just start from level 3, where you're able to access maternal, delivery. But even beyond that, there has got to be, sincerely, there's got to be better hospitals. There's got to be better infrastructure, so that in case, cesarean section, I look at those people and I say, my goodness me, what happens when you fail to deliver? To take you, and there's no even vehicle, to 50 kilometers away. The road is so bad, if it rains, a small car cannot pass. Even an X-ray cannot drive on some of those roads. It is terrible. So as we receive even more refugees, especially West Nile that has accommodated so many, there's still so much need on the ground that we need to just do proper planning. I really do believe resources are available. It's how you plan the resources. Prioritizing, ensuring that we build up structures that are adequate. OPD sections are very small. We've seen patients come in an OPD so small. It's the same place where they dispense drugs. So you are talking about social distance of 2 meters apart. It's not possible. They are ill-equipped. There are no housing for nurses. These nurses are working day and night. They need adequate motivation. They need to be paid well. And there is need really to increase the budget for the health sector. But above all, leadership is important even at those levels, not only at the district, but even at the facility level, to get people to work, but also to be able to support people to do their work. Because these are people who have children. I look at myself as a mother. If an organization does not facilitate their staff adequately, that's why you have many cases of corruption. Because sometimes organization thinks you must give a voluntary service. It's not possible. And this compromises, some people will not manage to, hardship, and they end up falling apart on their values. So the international community has to continue supporting, but also we want to see government do better in terms of planning the resources and perhaps driving the demand from down up and not top down. There's got to be, because some of these health center tools are doing deliveries, yet they are not supposed to. But they have no choice because people come there, it's the only one nearby. So they need to immediately prioritize support to such kind of centers. So I'm really happy that with Mandulis, we are an Accenture, and we are rolling out a pilot study on digitalization that we're going to do to try to support health center 2s and 3s, which are the most needed. And we're going to provide 1.5 kilowatt solar energy in those facilities, because lighting is a problem. What we saw in nearly, I would say, 90% of the health centers, there's no reliable power. If they have solar, it is not reliable. The issues with batteries. So coming up with a system, that a power solution that is going to help the health centers. That means it will increase the work time for them, but also introducing like computers. We will train health workers on the basic skills and on how to digitalize data, so that it takes away the burden of, the time lost in writing, so that they're able to give services to people, to the patients who come in the facility. So even digitalizing alone is going to reduce the workload. We believe it will reduce the workload. It will give more patient time. And I'm really looking at a time when health centers can have patient, how do I say, in those rural health centers, that you can actually, if you walked in as AD, your data is available and the doctor knows your previous record and is able to help to improve, diagnosis.
Reduce the time.
Leave alone that to even follow your history and able to support you, because with the manual system, it's impossible. If you come with your patient book, because in the villages, in those centers, you come with your exercise book where they write the prescriptions and everything. Tomorrow you leave it at home. You come with a new one. They will not remember. They will not remember. Or the rain has washed it. So there's no way they will remember that you had TB.
Yes.
You may come for malaria and actually you're a TB person. So how do you manage that? So we really want, using technology, that partners out there who have the technology, who can actually help to integrate the system, so that you don't do a one standalone, that this is me, I do my own, and you have a museum, so many standalone, but integrated, so that you really support the health sector. Because the challenges are many and we need concerted effort. That's why working in partnership is very important. And I really love partnership, the collaboration. So I'm really happy to work with Mandulis. I look at the future so bright that we shall support health centers. One aspect is digital, bringing in laptops with JICA support to help improve, the work in the facilities, but also bring energy, which is something great, and even transport that would help the community to be able to access medical services in emergencies. Like we have electric ambulances that Mandulis is working on, beautiful ideas. We need more people, more Ugandans to get out and do something that is going to transform lives. It's not about money. Many of the companies, by the way, if you go to those areas in West Nile, for the facilities that we sample, about 75 of them, network is a problem. You don't even have voice. You cannot call on MTN, you cannot call on Airtel. Airtel does quite better. They have really reached out in a wider coverage, but you can't even call. You can't call a health center. At the health center, you must find a spot to stand to call someone in the district. So you must go under some kind of tree, surely.
Climb and hunt.
I say, where is the corporate responsibility? Should it be about market-driven? But let's it be about the people. Reach the services to the community. So there is need for network, like we need intranet systems, we need internet access in those facilities, so that you just at real time click and send the information to the district. Instead of somebody look for border. They don't even have by their motorcycles. Ride to the district just to take a report. How about just use technology, click away and it's at the district, I continue with my work. Now I lose 2 days to move from one health center to come to the district to give a report. 2 days would have done so much to help lives, save lives. So with technology alone, a click away, instant reports to the ministry, even up to Kampala. So there's need for partners to come in and work with Bosco Uganda, work with the existing partners on the ground to support technology rollout to the health center, so that we improve on services by bringing technology closer, power, energy, and also for these companies, the MTN, Airtel, to really do something as a corporate responsibility, to really target the people and support connectivity. So that we have access. We are happy with NITA, they're doing quite a lot, they have reached the highways, but on the ground, there is a gap. So there's need for partnership on how to bring that internet closer to the people, so that we really support development of the rural areas in health, in education, in agriculture. Mention it. Technology is the way to go, and I'm glad to be with Bosco Uganda and to work with people who are willing to support such change, technology that is going to help transform lives.
Wow. Well, you're hearing, Jennifer Okusia Erejo talk about her journey as the new executive director, of Bosco Uganda. Again, this is not Bosco the Katara of the city of Kampala, okay? This is Bosco Uganda, the organization that looks after ICT in community, in rural areas in northern part of Uganda. I think they have been there for about 14 years. And for the first time, a lady is taking over the leadership role in there as an executive director, and she was nominated to be on the CEO bench. And Jennifer Okusia, as I am concerned, you are on a good road to, you know, being a good leader in that organization. They are blessed to have you. Jennifer, last question. Our time is fast spent, but I want to ask you my last question. Uganda has a vision 2040. We've talked about the vision 2040. We've discussed this over and over. The government has been talking about it. The people of Uganda have been talking about it. Just like any other country in the world, we must have a vision. So Uganda has a vision 2040. What hope do you have for Uganda as a woman taking over from Bosco Uganda at the moment, and Africa 2040? And how can we, each person, anywhere in Uganda, Africa, and the world, be inspired to do things and join hands to, you know, help realize that vision for the country called Uganda?
Wow. Those are many questions in one.
Yes.
But as a woman, as a mother,
Yes.
how do I say, I stand to reflect on myself as a woman.
Yes.
And what I want to, the change that I want to see in others.
Yes.
I want to be an image for women out there.
Yeah.
Who are doing something, who are struggling, and to tell them there is something better.
Yeah.
I want to be part of working with organizations that are supporting communities to grow, community organizations like Bosco Uganda, local organizations to build their capacities, strengthen the institutions so that they continue to do the great work they're doing out there. So I want to be a part of that. So I thank APC, I thank Horizon 3000, the organization I worked with, the Austrian government through the Austrian Development Agency. I thank Accenture, I thank Notre Dame University. I thank UNICEF, but the UNICEF did a lot with Bosco Uganda to reach out to schools. So I am a woman who wants to ensure that whatever we're doing, we are counting for results. That every intervention we do must transform lives. And we want to ensure that people are in the driving seat. The communities, the young people, the youth, that they are on the driving seat. So designing programs with them. As we go out to do studies, get their views. So what we did is to go and actually listen to the different actors, players in the whole ecosystem of health, from the district health officers, biostats, in charges of facility, sub-county chiefs, they now call them SAS, the patients even, to get their views. So it's so important that we get the views of the people and the change that they want to see, so that we define that change process and be able to work towards what we want to see. So you asked many questions, so I hope I am answering it. But I really believe that as a woman who wants to see my children and all other children, I'm really so passionate about young people, children, women, men, who working together, whether it's at the family level, work together. Why do you fight? Put your efforts together, put your resources together. I have seen families where the man is working, the woman is working, but it's only the man who is spending the money in the family. What is the money of the woman doing? Why not work together? Because together you can go far. But if you stand as an individual, you're going to fail. So we need people to come together. We need young people out there not to think about money first, but think about what you're passionate about, what change you want to contribute to.
This is to what 2040
Commit yourself towards that vision. Commit yourself towards digitalization. Commit yourself towards projects that make an impact. Government Uganda has great plans, but we all know always the challenge is the implementation. But if you are an institution, if you are the leader of an institution, and you have the resources, why not commit those resources to what it was intended to be? That's it. If all of us made that contribution honestly and account for what we do, we will have change in this country. We shall develop this country to the vision. So let's stop talking, but walking the talk. Let's put resources down, whether it's financial resources, it is time that you spend to work. Commit yourself to it. If it is finding the right staff to the organization, please find the right people, not because he's related to me or not, or he's from that tribe or other. Find competence, find committed people, work together and achieve what you want to achieve. That for me is very important. And we shall reach the vision 2040. So talking alone does not help us, but aligning what we say we want to do and actually measuring the changes. It is so important. Sometimes I get bored to hear 50 years ago, they still talk 50 years ago. What happened to the 5-year plan? Can you account for that one? Account for it. And please, let's be accountable. Let's be truly honest and attribute our work to the changes that we see, the outcomes, Stop talking about impacts.
Yes.
Those are very far away because so many people are contributing to it. Measure the outcomes. Define the outcomes with the people that you want to change and trace that. Let the people be in the driving seat. I mean, let them also contribute towards the change. We stop dependency. Because I really do believe that there is resources. There are idle resources around us. But sometimes the difference is exposure. So what you have here, as you see, is not a resource. Out there, they're using it. You've seen people even eat all kinds of things. But for us, because we have the food, we don't. I'm just using that in terms of resources. If you have the resource, we need exposure. We need support in training, leadership, train us as leaders, support us in the work that we're doing, reach out to organizations that are doing a great work, support them, and, you know, build them, you know, so that they're able to remain a going concern. They're able to build up, you know, system structures, programs that will outlive the leadership of the organization. I think that is so important. Leaders, when it's time to go, go. Stop hanging in. Your vision might have expired. Allow others to lead. And let them also try. Next 5 years, you know, 10 years. And when you believe that you've done your part, let other people build. Because, as I said, change is inevitable. And new people can come in with new ideas. People need to embrace that change and catch the vision and move on. And that is so important.
Wow. Well, you've heard from Jennifer right there. Powerful woman taking over Bosco, Uganda. You're truly blessed. And the community of the people in northern Uganda and the, you know, Western Islands, you are really blessed. And to my people from Arua, I think you have, and people from the West Nile, you have a powerful horse right there in Jennifer. Jennifer, your parting short question here. I mean, what is the most important thing that the viewers and the followers of the CEO bench that nominated you to come onto the program should take over from you today or should know about Jennifer going forward as we bring the show to a close, as your parting shot?
Jennifer is so passionate about...
I want you to look into the camera.
Oh, yeah. Jennifer is so passionate about transforming lives. She's a woman who holds the values of honesty, accountability, transparency, and that is what drives me, and that's what I want people to check me for. Am I doing what I say I want to do? As a leader, I must be an exemplary person, so I lead by example. So for me, it's about servant leadership. It's being on the forefront, working with your team to change, you know, the things that you want to change. So I'm happy and glad to have been given this opportunity. I want to thank our Archbishop of Gulu, a man that has worked tirelessly and doing so much to transform lives, supporting the institution to work together, effort towards inter-institutional collaboration, and I'm glad to be part of the team that is contributing towards, you know, ideas in the Archdiocese. For me as a Christian, I carry the Christian values, and I do believe so much that those values drive us and make us, you know, live the kingdom principle. So it's so important that actually we live our values, we work together, you know, and we bring about the change that we really want to see, carrying the people along, actually putting the people in the driving seat. So I'm really happy that you gave me the opportunity to come here and, you know, inspire someone out there and to tell the young people there is hope for you. Young girls, do not rush into marriage, do not rush into relationships. It is a temporary solution, but it's going to cause you long-lasting problem. Focus on education. You know, challenges are there, but there's a solution to every problem. So stand up and fight on. Many people who are something today, you know, had the option of, you know, having a shortcut to, you know, give up and, you know, say, me, Masao, you know, you know, I've reached the traffic light. It is red, I stop here. No, it always changes from red to yellow to green and yellow. So please, keep working hard. You know, set up your vision, set up the strategies, build systems, build structures, and build internal processes that will outlive your legacy. As a CEO, as an ED, for me, that is what I cherish. I really want to set up an organization, a system that can outlive my time, and that is so important. But it must impact the lives. I must be among those that are contributing towards the change, whatever sector it is, whether agriculture or health or education. Am I making an impact? Am I transforming lives? That's what I believe in.
Wow. Jennifer, thank you very much for coming to the show. Here, we always do this, and we say that we have to spread the love going forward. And to all of you guys, thank you very much for joining us on the CEO Bench today. The CEO Bench has come to an end. We've been talking to Jennifer Okusia Ereju, who is the executive director of Bosco Uganda. Check them out. Check Bosco Uganda online, www.boscouganda.com, and check them out, and you'll be able to, you know, touch base with them, you'll be amazed. The CEO Bench will return next week, same time, same place. God bless, and stay focused on your leadership journey.
Amen.
A wise man once said, "The future has a name, and its name is hope. A tiny flicker of light that feeds on hope is enough to shatter any shield of darkness." At Mandulis, we really believe in this. We're a clean energy company that also focuses on agricultural value addition to help improve the lives of farmers in rural Africa. Something that's close to my heart, having grown up in these communities. I was born in northern Uganda, in such communities that we've seen today. I spent my early childhood running around these roads. You know, I've lived this, but so has almost every other Ugandan, because 80% of us are linked to the ground through farming. And now what today has been about is figuring out how farming can not only be productive for food, but rather how farming can be productive for the entire ecosystem and the economy. How crops once grown can have residues that can be turned into energy to process those same crops, can be turned into energy to cook those same crops, and can be turned into that flicker of light that can shatter any shield of darkness, economically, developmentally, and otherwise.
I am Jean-Baptiste Fauvel. I work as a program manager at the EU delegation to Uganda, and I'm in charge of working on inclusive green economy. Inclusive green economy is one of two focal sectors of the EU's development cooperation with Uganda, so we have allocated a significant amount of resources to advancing this agenda of promoting inclusive green economy in line with the government's ambitions in this regard, because Ugandan authorities have launched the Ugandan Green Growth Development Strategy end of 2017, and we are keen on supporting this. This visit to the pilot projects implemented by Mandulis in the Gulu district, Gulu region, has been a very interesting experience for me, a learning experience, because I'm not familiar with gasification, the gasification of biomass, and the many interesting technologies implemented by Mandulis here. So I've learned a lot, and I am extremely grateful to Peter and his colleagues for showing this and the very inspiring message conveyed to us visitors.
What's interesting about this project, what I've learned from Mandulis, is that they are covering the missing link in rural electrification. And that missing link is that, you know, we try to electrify people, and it always requires subsidy. What they're bringing is they're connecting the value chains, the agricultural value chains, the ground nuts, the rice, the maize, and these value chains, which are worth a lot of money. They're using they're using the waste from these value chains to make energy, which returns resources to the community. And this has not been done successfully in East Africa yet. So this is a really exciting project. And so what my plan and what I'll be working on is to try and help them finalize the business so that it's investable in a way that they can grow to meet all 16 of the target areas.
I'm telling you that take this stove, okay, take this shigiri, go home, after you've made your muchama and you've eaten and you've enjoyed yourself, I'll buy back the ash from you. That is crazy, but it's what makes you now say, okay, maybe I should switch, because if I calculate the amount of money, let's assume you're buying 1 ton a year, and that 1 ton you're spending about 500,000 shillings, and let's say you're getting about a quarter of a ton at the end of the year, 250 grams, 250 kilos, that's 5 bags of charcoal. How much is 5 bags of charcoal? You're like, okay. So if you're spending 500,000 and you're earning 100,000 from your waste at the end of the year, in a rural environment, that's covering, 2 terms of school for 1 kid. So it gives that incentive to switch, because you're saying, look, it's still wood, but this is cleaner. It doesn't beat the environment. It's cheaper, but more importantly, it is an income stream for you as a family.
I have been very impressed by what I've seen. It's been very inspiring, and I will be very keen on exploring whether and how we could maybe support Manduli's ambitions in the future. I will share my takes with colleagues in Kampala, and we will explore what can be done.
The EU has been a strong partner of Uganda in many different fields, from infrastructure to development to others. And I feel it's crucial for them to see how what we're doing fits in within their plans and Uganda's plans.
The farmers are ready. The farmers are ready for someone to come in and make this happen. So we go back to what we need is rural electrification. What we need is we need markets for food crops. The markets for food crops are there, and the opportunities for rural electrification are there, and the farmers are willing to participate. So what surprised me, it didn't surprise me, but is how knowledgeable they are. Mandulis, I think, has raised the awareness, but they're ready to participate, and they understand that they have a role to play in this great activity.
And I'm impressed as well at the potential of this region in terms of agriculture and agro-processing. Just have a look at what's around, the landscape. You can see how fertile this land is and how much potential there is for such initiatives as those promoted by Mandulis. So I am confident that there is a big potential for agro-processing industries in the future, and of course the gasification of bio-waste is one of them.
This is a beautiful area. This is a wealthy area. When I heard about Gulu, I had no idea. I kind of thought northern Uganda was very dry, and I didn't really know what to expect. And so when I got here, what I've seen is a very rich area, a lot of crops, a lot of farmers, a lot of young people looking for things to do. And so I think that the agricultural value is here. So what surprised me is the amount of agricultural activity and the potential here.
It was fantastic. I was very much impressed by how welcoming and friendly the local communities are, especially here in Paminolango. We were treated with a fantastic singing and dancing show, which I will keep in my mind for a long time. I think it was fantastic, and I'm very grateful to all those people, all those communities here for their fantastic welcome.
I have not had sorghum ugali like that for a really long time. I mean, in Nairobi we get maize ugali, but sorghum ugali, and then the local food here is just fantastic. I'll also talk about the music. That was like the best village orchestra that I've seen in a long time. So the food and the music, that was like a cherry on top of the experience, and so I'm really looking forward to working on this project.
We wanted our guests to experience the warm welcome of the culture in rural Uganda, especially in this part of rural Uganda. So we had everything from Malakwang to Bo to Lakorokoro, to Odi to Olel, all the food that's grown just down the road from here. And they've eaten it right here. Everything, even those who had the chickens are grown here, and they've been fed on the maize bran and the rice bran, and everything's from around the corner. Fresh food, natural food, cooked with a lot of care and a lot of love for everyone, and a lot of welcoming warmth.
COVID-19 has tested our hope and faith as individuals, families, and the country at large. Besides destroying many aspects of our lives, the novel coronavirus has also affected our human rights in many ways. You and the Law, the COVID edition, is a 30-minute weekly television program that focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on human rights in Uganda. The program engages experts to explain the importance of rights-based approaches to the success of any public health response to ensure the respect, protection, and fulfillment of human rights amidst the challenges presented by COVID-19. You and the Law, the television program, brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda, taking the law to the last mile in proud association with I4C Africa Hub and House of Talent Television.
COVID was not expected by many people early last year, because I think when it was happening in the Western world, everyone, probably distanced themselves.
Yeah, it was a Chinese problem.
Exactly. Some people would easily say that God was probably punishing those guys in Europe and the Western world generally, you know. But the situation changed rapidly, and it came down to our doorsteps here. It came down to Africa, it came down to Uganda, and we all know what happened.
It's You and the Law here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host. You and the Law is simply what it says, You and the Law. It's a program that seeks to explain the law to people in this country, demystify the different concepts of the law, make people understand what the law is, how it affects their lives, and really to ensure that we keep ourselves on the safe side of the law. Because as you all know, ignorance of the law has never been and will never be a defense. So whether you're a teacher, whether you're a border rider, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a farmer, anything that you could be in your life, the law affects every aspect of our lives. So that's why we have this program to basically enable people to understand the law in its different formations and how it impacts on our lives. Today, we have a very interesting guest with us who will be helping us understand a couple of things about this program and the ideas that we are flaunting for you, the viewers of House of Talent Television. Our guest is a very outstanding and fairly young lawyer. He's a law lecturer. He's practiced law for the last 8+ years. He's taught law in different universities. He's been in leadership in this country, and he's best suited to steer this conversation today. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the one and only Emmanuel Elau. Emma, you're welcome to You and the Law.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the nice introduction.
In House of Talent, we always have to do the fist bump and we spread the love. Yeah, it's just our way of trying to survive in these COVID times, because we're told that we can't be touching ourselves and stuff like that. Yes. So Emma, I know that you do so many things in this country. You teach law, you practice law, you run a startup. So I thought perhaps we could start by having a sneak peek into the work that you do as a lawyer, as an innovator, just to set the ball rolling for us.
Yes. Thank you so much. Well, I do all the things that you have mentioned.
Yeah.
Been a lawyer for quite a while now, since 2014.
Oh.
So quite knowledgeable about the law now.
You're no longer a young lawyer?
No longer a young lawyer. I'm off that bracket.
Okay.
But of course, always willing to learn and contribute to the society in different ways, like you've stated. And so that includes also, as part of the pro bono work, to uplift people's understanding of the law, teach them what the law is, and this has been appreciated, in different squatters in this country, For example, last year, our organization, that is Legal Hub Uganda, won this LACON award. LACON, that's the Legal Aid Innovations Conference.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, so we're the best, that was in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the work is much appreciated now.
You mentioned Legal Hub. I thought maybe you could spend a little bit of time to, understand, explain to us what Legal Hub is all about. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Legal Hub Uganda is a non-governmental organization.
Okay.
This organization was conceived as an idea around 2017 and registered as a company limited by guarantee. And we went on to register as a non-governmental organization in 2019. So since then, we have been contributing to this country in different ways, using the radios, visiting schools, going into the community in different ways. We have, for example, utilized radio stations in this country, several of them, and I believe people across this country have heard about Legal Hub Uganda and what we have been doing.
Yeah, I know that you also have a little bit of interest in innovations as an organization. Could you sort of try to shine a light on a couple of innovations that Legal Hub has been pushing across the country?
Yes, thank you. So one of our biggest innovations, to date, has been the legal podcast.
Yeah.
So if you're very common on Facebook, on different platforms, you're able to see that we're doing a legal podcast. I believe we're the pioneer podcasters in this country, at least in the legal sense.
Okay.
So this podcast has been recognized by The Hill. The Hill is the Hague Institute, for innovations of law.
Yes.
So we competed, and we came out as the best innovators in 2019.
Okay.
And as a result, we also represented Uganda. We're among the 3 that represented Uganda at The Hague. That's in the Netherlands. You know,
very important milestones that you raised.
Exactly. So we're able to compete with the world, to showcase the world what we are all about, and things like that. And of course, we have kept the podcast running with support from different quarters of this world. So that's why I was saying earlier that we have been able to even win the Lakon Award.
Yeah, which is very big, especially for the country.
Yes,
because it's
so
a national sort of system.
Exactly, and of course, you know, every day we continue to innovate ways that we can reach, you know, different people in this country. And our major interest is the last mile in this country. Yeah. And that's what keeps us, you know, moving forward to ensure that the last person in this country understands the law.
Until we take the law to the last mile.
Exactly.
So that brings me sort of to this question around then you and the law, because clearly it seems to be a contribution to your mandate of taking to the law to the last mile.
Yes.
So you and the law, as a program that, you know, we're designing in partnership with the House of Talent Television, could you just sort of give us an idea what it's all about?
Yes, thank you. So again, because of our innovativeness, right? We have been able to be recognized by different people. And recently, we were one of the winners, you know, under the I4C challenge. That's Innovation for Change, you know. So under that project, one of the things that we thought of was to bring the law to the TV audience, you know, in this country. And again, I believe this is also pioneering in different ways, because other people simply discuss the law from the surface, you know. So we want to unpack the law, you know, to the TV audience, because I believe the radio will be focusing more on the people in the last mile, you know. But
the TV audience is a bit.
So if you come to Kampala, you realize that the majority of the people only listen to the radio in the morning when they're driving to work, you know, and the evening when they're driving back home. And you know, at that point, someone is a bit anxious, you know, going to work and coming back. So they basically want to listen to music, you know. So we want to see how we can take this television to their offices, you know, to their homes, at their own convenience, you know. So that's why this project comes up, you know. And so we have designed a number of projects, I mean a number of topics that we want to handle under this. So there'll be a COVID edition, you know, but generally we'll be discussing other aspects of the law like you had rightly introduced.
Yeah. So I thought perhaps, I know you've sort of given us a sneak peek into the future, but I thought we could maybe start by revisiting, you mentioned COVID.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, why is it important to actually have a conversation around, you know, COVID and the law? Because this is you and the law, and then suddenly you're talking about, you know, COVID. Some because, you know, COVID is a medical issue. Why are we discussing it in you and the law? You should be telling us about theft, you should be telling us about murder and things like that. So could you sort of try to give us that intersection?
Yes. Now that's a good question. First of all, COVID was not expected by many people early last year, you know, because I think when it was happening in the Western world, everyone, you know, probably distanced themselves.
Yeah, it was a Chinese problem.
Exactly. You know, some people would easily say that God was probably punishing those guys in Europe and the Western world generally, you know. But the situation changed rapidly, you know, and it came down to our doorsteps here. It came down to Africa, it came down to Uganda, and we all know what happened, you know. The country was closed down. Among the first times that the president had addressed the country, you know, he reached a point where he closed the land, air, and all the borders basically in this country.
So basically,
so we're locked up. You couldn't
go
out.
No entrance, no exit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And alongside that, you know, they curtailed our movement at some point. They said stay home, you know. Workplaces were closed, you know. People were staying home. I know that different kinds of problems occurred, you know. Husbands and wives are staying indoors for 24 hours. So you can expect that there'll be domestic violence.
I would expect them to bond.
On the contrary, no. Because then you're seeing, you're confined to this house for 24 hours. You're looking at each other. At least when you're working, you're able to go and cool off in case of any disagreements. So during that COVID period, and we're still of course in that period, there was a lot of domestic violence that was realized, for example. And that is a legal issue, you know. People had mental issues. You know, that's just a legal issue in some ways. You know, children stayed at home. And up to now, as we speak, children are still at home. And so that means that their rights to, to study, to education, which of course has its own technicalities, but you know that children are still at home and they are losing out so many months and years.
Then on Sundays and Fridays, people can't go to...
You can't go to church or to the mosque. That's also a legal issue, In the first lockdown in 2020, government had to step in and provide food, because people were no longer working. A majority of our people, especially here in Kampala, they live hand to mouth. So these people go to town, they work the money, go home with a kavera. Those kaveras will no longer coming, A
kavera is a polythene bag, just
exactly.
in case some viewers may not understand. Yeah.
Yes. So that means that the right to, to food, was affected. You couldn't move. Your right to movement is affected. The government came up with regulations saying that, for example, you can't spit in public, And indeed, those regulations are still here. If you spit in public, you're committing an offense,
I wonder how many people know that.
Exactly. So COVID has impacted life in ways that we didn't imagine,
Basically, there's been a close fusion between COVID and the law.
Exactly. And it appears this situation is not likely to change even after we recover from the pandemic. Because in some places you've heard them talking about COVID passports, In Europe, in South Africa, yesterday I was seeing they're trying to introduce a COVID passport. So that means if you want to go to the market, you should show that you've been vaccinated, So what is the implication of that on your daily life?
We'll pick on from there, because clearly I see that you've tried to marry, COVID-19 and the law. So we'll pick on from there after the short break. Stay right here. COVID-19 came and disorganized our economy, brought our health system to its knees, and along the way, affected our rights significantly. This is You and the Law, the COVID edition, here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host.
When it comes to the law, we basically live the law, on a day-to-day basis, Whether it is in your bedroom, there is a law that governs it. If you're married, for example, even if you're single, there could be something touching on the law, because you might be in your bedroom with an underage girl, or you might be with another person's wife. All the things are the law.
If you're a human being, you have rights. Those rights are called human rights. They are examples: the right to health, the right to freedom from torture. That underscores human dignity. Freedom from slavery. You're not supposed to be someone's slave.
If you look at our penal code, it sets out another marriage laws. It sets out the persons who can marry and those who cannot marry, right? For example, you can't marry your close relatives. If you did, you'd be committing a crime.
The state is not supposed to tell you who to worship, how to worship, how many times a day. No. You have a right to work. A right to work. You have freedom of association.
Cohabitation for whatever period of time does not make you husband and wife, right? And that is why we emphasize to people that when the relationship is still hot, you must ensure that you do what? Marry.
Yes.
For human rights to be respected, protected, and fulfilled, relevant government programs must actually work. Medicine should reach hospitals. Oxygen should be there. Health workers should have gloves. Teachers should be present. Now they are mostly absent, and they have left the profession, a good number of them. They are into trading. So things must work. If things don't work, human rights are not respected, are not protected, and are not fulfilled.
COVID-19 has tested our hope and faith as individuals, families, and the country at large. Besides destroying many aspects of our lives, the novel coronavirus has also affected our human rights in many ways. You and the Law, the COVID edition, is a 30-minute weekly television program that focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on human rights in Uganda. The program engages experts to explain the importance of rights-based approaches to the success of any public health response to ensure the respect, protection, and fulfillment of human rights amidst the challenges presented by COVID-19. You and the Law, the television program brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda, taking the law to the last mile in proud association with I4C Africa Hub and House of Talent Television.
It's You and the Law here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host. Today in studio, we hosting Mr. Emmanuel Elau, co-founder at Legal Hub Uganda, the practicing lawyer and a law lecturer, basically to discuss and explain to us this whole show that we're premiering here, You and the Law, specifically the COVID edition. Before we went for a break, Emma was explaining to us how the law is married into the whole COVID-19 pandemic and the different interventions that have been put in place. I thought, Emma, we could pick on from there. So before the break, you sort of tried to make that explanation. So could you kindly, in a more sort of detailed manner, highlight the various human rights that you think have been affected by COVID-19? Yeah.
Well, thank you. There have been different rights that have been affected, We're talking about the right to education. We're talking about the right of movement. We're talking about the right to health, which has also been highlighted because of our, infrastructure.
Yeah, our preparedness for...
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think we have also seen the right to life, to an extent, also affected. People's rights to worship, people's rights to, to marry at some point, because when it was suspended.
Yeah, you couldn't do a ceremony.
Yes, you couldn't do much, I think the people's rights also to earn a living, generally, which could be connected with the right to own property. It could be, one could make an argument that has also been affected.
Economic rights that
have been
severely affected.
Exactly.
So looking at the COVID edition of You and the Law that we're talking about today, what are the kind of topics that people should expect, the viewers of House of Talent Television should expect to be discussed on this show?
Okay, thank you. So, because of this whole idea, we have put together a couple of topics, 12 of them in particular, for purposes of this particular COVID edition.
So you just selected only 12?
12 topics, okay, particularly. So those topics are going to touch on the law and human rights in Uganda. So we'll basically have a guest telling us about the different laws, the different rights that have been affected, because we're talking about human rights.
Yeah, sort of a broader picture.
A broader discussion. So you can expect a very interesting discussion around that. Two, we'll be talking about COVID-19 and access to justice in Uganda, because we know already that even without COVID, a great majority of people in this country were even struggling to access justice, and this is no news, You've heard of people talking about case backlog, access to courts of law, access to lawyers, If you look at the infrastructure in this country in terms of legal aid, I mean, it's a bit poor, Everybody looks at Law Society, but Law Society only has 22 legal aid clinics across this country. But how many districts do we have?
100 and something.
Exactly. So even before Corona, there was a problem. But now we want to discuss post-Corona. What exactly
in Corona.
In Corona, actually.
Yes, yeah.
What exactly is going on?
I think that's interesting, actually, even noting the fact that courts were actually closed as well during the lockdown. And I remember, I think lawyers were not essential workers.
No, they were not.
Yeah, so with all the fancy suits, at a certain point, a wheelbarrow pusher was more important than you.
We were relegated to another, Of course, there was this whole thing that lawyers at some point were made essential. But you see, it was technical because it was only a fee. You had to apply for a permit.
Yeah.
Each time you had a case. Yeah. But remember, if your client is arrested, because sometimes these things are not planned, considering how police operates, If your client is arrested, you have to apply for a permit that could take you a day or two. Yeah. And then the law, on the other hand, says that
48 hours.
48 hours,
yeah.
And then your client as well is entitled to see a lawyer upon arrest. So that also was affecting.
So imagine a lawyer running all the way from Nigeria to Chira Road Police.
Exactly.
Because they don't have a permit. Okay, yeah, any other sort of areas of discussion that we'll focus on?
So another interesting topic is COVID-19, gender and women's rights.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of gender
that
issues.
Sounds interesting already, yeah.
Exactly. There have been a lot of gender issues in this country as a result of this COVID. Domestic violence, women, beaten, and all sorts of things. And of course, we're not biasing this only to women. Of course, we're aware that there's some men who may have also fallen
victim.
Only that, of course, that the men fear to come out. So it will be a bit of a general discussion, though of course with some bit of focus on women specifically. Another topic of interest is COVID-19 property and land rights, because as you're aware, while everyone else was busy, with corona things, some people were also busy scheming ways to evict them from their land, because courts were suspended, if a guy wants to take over your land or to break down your house, you have no recourse to a court of law.
Interestingly, there was actually a directive issued by the Ministry of Lands suspending any forms of evictions and stuff like that in that period.
Yes.
But I think this being Uganda, some people were able to,
of course,
to bypass.
so you find that whereas they put out all the things, sometimes they're well-intentioned, that we do not want people to be evicted. But there'll be someone out there, who can be able to...
Who can bypass.
Imagine if they can demolish a church in this country, so you can only imagine what they can't do when...
the country is locked down.
When the country is locked down and there's just a piece of paper saying that don't evict people, So that's one such topic. And then also we have COVID-19 and its impact on employment and labor rights in Uganda. This is a very serious discussion, We have had people lose jobs, We have had people with reduced salaries,
Salary cuts,
Salary cuts, The teachers are out there, they don't have jobs. Or even when they maintain their jobs on paper, the employers are telling them, we can't pay you because children are at home.
Perhaps the other angle is that also we've had businesses closed down.
Businesses are also closing down.
Because it's always tempting to look at the employees only and forget that the employers are struggling.
Exactly. So we'll be delving into the labor issues in this country. And then also, we'll be looking at the right to food, COVID-19, and the right to food.
Yes. That's an interesting one, because I remember in the first lockdown, people were like, I'd rather die of COVID than die of hunger in my house. So tell us about the right to food.
So that topic will also be discussed. As we all know, it's one of the rights which is internationally recognized. So we need to delve and try to understand what that right entails. Does it mean that the government should bring food and put on your table? Or government should create a conducive environment for you to be able to get food? Like you've always had Paul saying that someone should be taught how to fish instead of being given what? Fish.
The only danger here is that the fish pond was closed because most of the earning places, were shut down. But I think it will be an interesting discussion here to see, honestly, like how this has been affected by COVID-19.
Exactly. Now, the other topic of discussion is going to be on civil liberties. In this country.
Very big issue.
Very, very interesting as well, because we need to know whether you still have a right to worship, Well, at least you can worship via television or via radios. Well, maybe some people are comfortable with that, but I'm sure a number of people are also uncomfortable with it.
I know the Christians believe in fellowshipping together. So
exactly. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there's a case which has been filed at the Constitutional Court. A group of pastors thinks that the continued locking of churches is unconstitutional, so they have gone to court. So that's one of the things, among other civil liberties, that we'll be talking about.
And again, talking about civil liberties, these freedoms of expression and everything. Again, we've been struggling with this even before COVID.
Exactly.
So I think it will be interesting to see how COVID has, either worsened or made the situation better.
Exactly, and it got a bit confused with the politics at some stage.
True.
And as you're aware, Facebook is still blocked in this country.
In this country, yeah.
And I don't think, I expect that you're not on Facebook.
And I think that sort of there's another interesting angle on the issue of around civic space. Because I think we've also seen government of late, you know, taking interest in organizations that are doing work, you know, on civil liberties. And I don't know if we can pull a connection between that and, and COVID-19.
Yes, so I believe that discussion is going to come up as well when that particular topic comes up.
Okay.
Yes. The other topic of interest is COVID-19 and the rights to health of people in this country.
I think that should be the first, actually. But yeah. Okay, tell us about that, yeah.
Again, you've seen that there's been a bit of litigation around these issues in the past, even before COVID.
Yeah, we saw people paying millions, hundreds of millions, you know, because you have a patient here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want 5 million, you know, from you, you know, for you to be in ICU for a day. You know, how many people are going to be able to afford that, you know? And what is government doing, you know, to ensure that people should not be paying this much, you know? So we'll be discussing that topic as well.
I think that's interesting because, again, there have been arguments that, you know, there's been a lot of focus on COVID-19 and we're forgetting that malaria is still, you know, a top killer disease where people are dealing with maternal health issues amidst COVID, and yet the government seems to be putting a lot of emphasis on COVID and neglecting the other issues we have in the country. Okay, this is another time, you know, to go for a break. You're watching You and the Law here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, and today we're hosting Advocate Emmanuel Lau to sort of unpack for us the COVID edition that we've been preparing for you in partnership with Legal Hub Uganda. So let's go for a break. We'll be right back. It's You and the Law here on House of Talent Television. Welcome. My name is Jonathan Ochom, and we're having Mr. Emmanuel Lau today, an advocate and law lecturer, to explain to us You and the Law and the intersection with COVID-19 in Uganda, which is a sort of a specific edition that House of Talent Television is going to be producing. So before we went for a break, you were highlighting on the topics that we're going to be discussing in this program. So I don't know if you still have some more to...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the other topic we'll be discussing is going to be COVID-19 and disability rights in Uganda.
Yeah.
Because you'll understand that the disabled people have also suffered in different ways.
Yeah.
You know, I will, on a lighter note, I will highlight one particular issue. You know, when the president started giving those speeches of his, you know,
the weekly
updates, kind of. So what happens is, at first there wasn't an interpreter. I don't know whether there is one now, you know.
It's been a while.
Yes. So there was a complaint that even the president's speeches were, you know,
there was no sign language.
They were leaving those guys behind because so the president is speaking, but they're not getting the information that he's saying. But I think there were some arrangements at some point to have a sign language.
I think the TV stations managed to sort of have an interpreter.
Yeah. So even with or without, even before COVID, you know, disabled people already facing challenges in terms of accessing so many other rights that they deserve in this country.
Yeah.
So COVID has only spoiled the situation. So we expect that that discussion is going to be topical as well, delving deeper into the matters to do with their rights. Yeah. The other issue of interest is COVID-19 and children's rights in Uganda.
Yeah.
Because as you're aware, children have also borne the brunt of this, of this situation.
Yeah.
Talk about domestic violence. Talk about the right to go to school.
I think when the police report, one of the reports showed an increase in defilement cases.
Defilement cases. You know, children are getting married off. You know, at a terrific speed, and a majority of them may never actually go back to school.
Yeah.
You know, issues to do with child labor have also come in, because now parents have said, you're sitting at home, please come and work for us. So we need to understand that what are the rights of a child in the context
Amidst pandemic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the other issue is COVID-19 and the rule of law in Uganda.
Yeah.
The rule of law, very, very important, you know.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when the lockdown was announced, they unleashed LDUs onto the streets. And we all know
LDUs are the local defense unit. It's
Yes.
a paramilitary outfit
Exactly.
in the country. Yeah.
So I believe everyone has an experience, one or the other. Either you've been a victim, or your relatives have been victims, you know, or a neighbor somewhere.
No, I think the media did a good job, you know, highlighting,
Yes.
you know, them chasing traders from downtown Kampala.
Yes.
And yeah.
So yeah, so people have in different ways interacted with LDUs. In fact, now it is a joke in the public that if you delay somewhere and curfew gets you, LDUs will teach you.
We'll teach you the
what time curfew ends.
Yeah, but I think the other interesting angle, perhaps talking about rule of law, there's been a lot of legislation around COVID.
Yes.
So I think it would be sort of interesting to see how the various laws that have been put in place are also going to have affected, you know, our rights as, you know.
Yes, exactly, and also the process that those laws took to come into force.
Yes.
Because you could see the president going on national television, you know, and coming up with all these kind of laws or rules or regulations of sorts.
Yeah.
But with no legal backing. So you'd wake up the following that now the Minister of Health, who is mandated anyway, has come up with a statutory instrument. So those issues also need to be.
One of the, I think, for me, the most interesting thing was seeing if you interact with a police officer, they will tell you they were enforcing the presidential directives.
Exactly.
And you know, some of us used to sort of tease them and say, you know, you don't enforce that. There should be law. Yes, I think, yeah, very interesting area. Yeah.
Yeah. So that issue will be discussed ably. Yeah. And then the last issue of interest is COVID-19 and education in Uganda. You know, that will be the last topic. But as you know, it's also a very, very important area, because as we speak today, children are still at home. You know, you have kids now who are 8 years, probably 7, but they have not stepped in nursery school yet.
They've started P1 for 3 years.
For 3 years, you know. You have people who have been in campus for probably 2 to 3 years, you know, who should have finished, you know. So we need to be also discussing those issues to do with the education. But of course, again, when we talk about education, we need to understand it from the context of the law.
Yeah.
You know, because it is not an absolute right. It can only be enforced up to a certain age.
Yeah.
You know, if you're above 18, for example, can you demand to study from your parents? You know, so all those are things that will be discussed when we get into that topic. So basically, those are the topics.
I think I like the education bit, especially when you mention the fact that, you know, children were left at home, but then the whole inequality in the education system is also going, perhaps something that needs to be exposed, because then I know there are those that were studying online.
Yes.
But I imagine my people in Bukedia, clearly, I think online is not even an option to, you know, to explore.
Yeah.
It will be a good angle to also spin it from, you know, that, from a rights, you know, angle.
Exactly.
Okay, so Emma, this seems to be like a well, you know, thought out, you know, package. I know there are so many human rights issues that COVID-19 raises, perhaps beyond even the 12 topics that you highlighted here. In future, perhaps we'll get another chance to have a more detailed explanation on the other angles of COVID-19. So, talking about the COVID edition of You and the Law, and the interesting topics you've highlighted. So who basically, you don't have to like drop the names, but I'm just wondering, so who are the guys going to be discussing this? Because clearly, it seems to be a, sort of a rich, you clearly need a rich lineup of people to able to explore this. What have you, you know, done about this?
Exactly. So we're sort of putting up a team of different experts in the different areas of the law, you know. So some of them, you might know their faces, you know, some of them might be people who are working in the background but contributing seriously in issues to do with justice, rule of law and the like in this country. So the topics will be assigned based on the areas of expertise of the different people. So just keep your fingers...
so where are they drawn from? Because is it private park? Is it academia? Is it... I don't know.
Well, they're drawn from different sectors. You know, we have civil society actors,
Okay.
you know, who will be coming in. We have private lawyers who will be coming in. Some of the prominent lawyers in this country coming to discuss the different topics. We have people from academia who will also be coming in. We also have people from the NGO sector. Well, they will be lawyers, but with a background of the NGO sector.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is going to give a different mix to this.
It's sort of, yeah, perspective.
Yeah. So you shouldn't expect that one person is going to sit here and discuss all these different topics, because there will be different people.
Okay. So as we come to the end of this, I thought maybe you could just give us a sneak peek into the show. So talking about how is it sort of structured, what are the issues that we're looking out? Of course, we know we're talking about COVID, the law and human rights. That's the overall, but like, how is this structured so that we're able to have a meaningful, you know, conversation or an impactful discussion around this? Yeah.
Well, thank you. So each of these topics is going to be packaged, you know, in almost a similar manner, you know. So we'll be starting with the foundational issues. For starters, you know. If we say we're going to discuss the rights of children in this country, you know, we do not want to attack it at a higher level. We want to start by making you to understand that who is a child, you know, what are their general rights, you know, or what are they entitled to as children, you know, before we come to discussing how COVID has impacted on them, right?
You need to first understand what their rights are.
The very basics. So we want to demystify the law, essentially.
Oh, so basically you're living to the title, you and the law.
Yes. So we want to bring the law down to the common man, you know.
Okay.
We want, if a border like you had earlier on stated, listens or watches us on this program, you know, to be able to associate, you know, with the issues which are being discussed at his own level. Because I think the temptation for many people in the past when they discuss legal topics is to be, you know, pompous with the words, you know, which therefore ends up alienating
certain,
actually a great majority of those who should be, you know, benefiting from this. So the only persons who will be understanding are probably lawyers or educated people who have the ability to pay a lawyer anyway. So we want to take it down.
Okay.
So that will be the foundational issues. Okay. Now next we'll be talking about marrying those foundational issues to the COVID experience. You know, how has COVID impacted? If children have these rights, how have they been impacted on by COVID? You know. Okay. So after talking about the COVID experience and relating to the different rights,
so sort of pulling that connection.
Exactly. So after that, we'll be talking about we'll be looking to the future. You know, what is it going to be like after COVID? You know, because for sure there are certain things which are not going to come back to normal. You know, different places are going to be left in a different way. Different people's lives have been impacted forever. So we need to look into the future. You know, issues like, do we need a COVID passport, for example? You know, must you be forced to, you know, to vaccinate so that you can access a COVID passport to fly out of this country? You know, so those will be the different.
But I also think more importantly, perhaps, would be to reflect on if we got another COVID or a similar pandemic 5 years down the road, how do we prepare? I think there will be a lot of focus also on the lessons that we can pick from our...
Exactly.
Because I think the interesting bit, I remember when COVID just came, they said, you know, Uganda has had a good history of handling similar situations. We had Ebola, we had, I think, SARS, and they said, you know, countries were benchmarking on Uganda. Yeah, so I think it would be interesting also to focus on what we can learn from our experience now and how that can influence our preparedness. So we talk about human rights, Emma, generally. But I know that in the human rights spaces, there's a discussion around rights holders and duty bearers. And so I thought that, so normally they talk about duty bearers to be sort of the government side of things. So I'm wondering, at the broader level, what would we talk about as government's role, or in as far as the enforcement of human rights, even amidst pandemics like this? Yeah.
So I think there are three issues that should arise around that. You know, there's an issue to do with the respect. You know, there's an issue to do with protection. You know, and then fulfillment of those rights. So, Uganda is lauded across the world because we have some of the best laws in this country.
So it is said?
Yes, or at least it's said. We have a very good constitution. Of course, some parts may be a bit controversial, which we may not go into, but our laws are good to an extent. The other issue, which is failing us, is about the enforcement of those laws and those rights and respect of the same. Because now if you have a right to, if you have civil liberties guaranteed, do you have someone else who is willing to respect, to protect, the same? The other day, I believe most of you saw videos of a magistrate, a chief magistrate in Imoroto, who was manhandled at a police station. But I mean, this is part of the process to enforce these rights. It's
part of the justice system.
Yes, in this country. So probably he has gotten first-hand what a majority of other people are doing. What?
Go through.
Go through.
Yeah.
So all the things are somehow connected one or the other.
So Emma, thank you. As we come to the end of this show, what are like your parting shots now? What's your message for the viewers? You could look into the camera, tell the viewers, what to expect and stuff like that as you wrap this up.
Yes, thank you. So viewers, there's a lot to learn, through this particular project. We need you to find time, listen in, and learn the different aspects of the law, because the people who are going to break down these issues of the law are experts in their different fields, and you can expect to enrich, your mind. Like they say, some people go elsewhere to enrich their bodies, grow big and all that, but you should utilize this moment to grow your mind, because like the host said earlier, ignorance of the law is no defense. So I hope that after this program, or after these shows that are coming along, you'll be able to know that ignorance of the law is no defense, and you'll be better prepared to fight for your own rights. Thank you so much.
What a way to wrap it up. With this, viewers, we come to the end of today's episode of You and the Law. Like I said, this program is there for you. It's there to make you understand the law in its most basic form and how it affects your life. So I urge you to watch House of Talent Television and follow this program and learn the law and give us feedback on the comment section. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to discuss. Because this program is bigger than COVID-19. We have a lot lined up outside this edition which focus on COVID-19. So with that, we come to the end of today's episode. It's a bye from us.
Saved, I was still raised right, so we were always culture boys, but boys would be boys, so sometimes we'd be them and soldier boys. Had quite a few friends with army dads, real soldier boys, red top status. They walking in, you better hold your voice and tongue and watch your mouth, cause they could be drunk or packing, no time to stomp you out. Just throw you in the back of the pickup or ghost your whereabouts. UG, KLA, home of the Impala. We're all different tribes, but everyone's bound to speak some Uganda like Mugamba G. That's from my old schoolers to Sidori G. That's from the new students with that slang edition, from urban to local tradition, while handing down that history through those oral renditions, like the Storo of Kintu. Musajja Nenteye, Kintu Yawasanambi, Mwanyina Wawarumbe is only one of the stories that explain things like our origins to death and everything in between. Oral historians before us young MCs at the scene. Mental recordings, those been in my makeup since time immemorial. Respect to those before me, yo.
Lwaki mu bisudde kali ebyali bituyamba bajjajja baali bagezi ngamba batuyigiriza empisa nyabo lwaki mu bisudde kale ebyali bituyamba nga bajjajja baali bagezi ngamba batuyigiriza empisa
anti tuteredde entende tugamba gyebala okuva ekyaddondo paka mu kyaggwe ne bugerere amasaza ndabya asatu ng'ate obusozi musanvu anti akabbiro muguya ate mamba olw'omanya enzira nkuba jjejjerebu anti buganda nza kulembera okukuza ku nnono ng'ate oluganda lwenkulembeza sisimba lukono ku mmere esira namanja yuyanca olujjuliro gye lwadda tetumanyi naye ate tukkuta mpaako ku mazinyweko byali bya buganda abazungu be bajja kati ensiwa ate zituswaza biseera byali bya nnono tubuuza tufukamidde nga twalula abalongo saako n'okukyalira ensiko kusoma kwa bunensi n'oluzungu ne luwamba tubuuza watagwani gyebale mbu byabakadde ettofaali tukwebaza lisonze yebale magulu nnyondo awangaale nange embeewo
lwaki mu bisudde kali ebyali bituyamba bajjajja baali bagezi ngamba batuyigiriza empisa nyabo lwaki mu bisudde kale ebyali bituyamba nga bajjajja baali bagezi ngamba batuyigiriza empisa
Yes, sir. This is how the culture was handed down. Around the fire chill we gather round. Different rituals of different tribes. It's how the tradition was kept alive. Spiritual emphasis behind the drums. The old voices here that guide the young. So as me and Nelly say, trade them balls. We give respect to those that came before us.
Chaddondo bugerere maokota busiro kyaggwe ffenna batugunjula dda ab'emmamba balangira nakinsiga enjovu katinvuma ab'effumbe n'omutima ffenna batugunjula dda ruyonga ku ngoma kugambye bamugunjula dda Isaiah kapiti kakabi kugambye bamugunjula dda
squad inside me like an amplifier. With a ban, every fresh desire. Like the Holy Spirit with the holy fire. From glory to glory, He might take me higher. And serving you is my hearty desire. And then the righteousness be my long attire. Jesus blood and that me a plead. Holy gabi we are coming star.
Uri mu mutima wanjye sinza kwitesha agakiza wamaye kandutira byose ubuzima bwanjye bufite intego ni wowe nkesha kubaho kwanjye ni wowe byiringiro bizima Yesu.
You need a blessing so that me can prosper. Me only daddy and me papa and me doctor. Water me get every time when me thirsty. I guess you love me. Daily yes you dey put food for me on the platter. And then your eyes watch over me. And then the heart full of praise and thanks that me offer. Ain't your light inside? I feel alive inside. I cannot deny.
Uri mu mutima wanjye sinza kwitesha agakiza wamaye kandutira byose ubuzima bwanjye bufite intego ni wowe nkesha kubaho kwanjye ni wowe byiringiro bizima Yesu. Sinzaho nari kuba ndi iyo wowe Yesu utaza kucubura nzira nabonaga imbere yanjye nta cyizere cy'ejo nari mfite hari umwijima wicura burindi imbere yanjye ariko Yesu waraje uramurikira uri mu mutima wanjye sinza kwitesha agakiza wamaye kandutira byose ubuzima bwanjye bufite intego ni wowe nkesha kubaho kwanjye ni wowe byiringiro bizima Yesu.
And serving you is my hearty desire. And then the righteousness be my long attire. Jesus blood and that me a plead. Holy gabi we are coming style.
Stereo, radio, in the iPod, watch the video. Stereo, radio. Turn up the stereo, volume of the radio. Headphones in the iPod, watch the video. Turn up the stereo, volume of the radio. Headphones in your iPod, watch the video. Sijukira muchere kurusani ya sijukira kaunga musefulia ebiziwe binchize nembigumira sijukira emikwano kuntabukira uno mukwano gange sekatawa yali mulongole nebimutama anti ku mulimu bagasoma ebyobulokole tebiza magobano. Me and my house will walk with you, 'cause of your love so real and true. Topo wake mumwacho topo wa mwana weka tunula jolaga topo wa Yesu akulemesa ebyo ebirungi byonna ajja kubikuwa. Topo wake mumwacho topo wa mwana weka tunula jogenda topo wa Yesu akulemesa ebyo ebirungi byonna ajja kubikuwa. Ono sister Teofisita yali alina kulasa mu kanisa mwatu bali bamazeyo kwanjula ekyali kisigaddeyo nga yembaga tetwamanya Jefu gye yava ow'amamotoka gali munaana okukutadde n'edduka mu kibuga
kaya simple. Save me from the disco. Love you, Lord, more than every girl loves a dimple. And I won't serve you on the lay low, aka Mr. Enough of the intro. You're always on time, never been slow. I focus on you, Lord, let the world know. When alone and everything feels cold, you my umbrella jacket, everything feels warm. When I go and get stuff, I keep on keeping on. Truth is, trouble don't last long. When I'm weak, you're strong. And it's in your presence that I be loved. Presence that I be loved, yeah. Topo wake mumwachi topo wa Wana wika tinule jolaka Topo wa Yesu bakule mesai Ivye virunji vyanda jaku mikuwai Topo wake mumwachi topo wa Wana wika tinule joge Topo wa Yesu bakule mesai Ivye virunji vyanda jaku mikuwai Topo wake mumwachi topo wa Wana wika tinule jolaka Topo wa Yesu bakule mesai Ivye virunji vyanda jaku mikuwai Topo wake mumwachi topo wa Wana wika tinule joge Topo wa Yesu bakule mesai Ivye virunji vyanda jaku mikuwai Stereo
itaranto hariho umutware yaratunze cyane afite n'abagaragu kera kabaye agira uruzinduko mu kindi gihugu ahamagara abagaragu be maze abasigira ubutunzi bwe umwamuha itarane eshanu undi amuha ebyiri undi amuha itarane imwe itagirira kabiri maze umutwara arazinduka maze babagaragu batangira gukoresha za tarano nk'uko shebuja yazibasigiye uwahawe shana aragenda arazigenza agenzura amesha hano uwahawe ebyiri nawe abigenza atyo agenzuramo ebyiri maze wa wundi wahawe imwe aragenda acukura icobo ayishamo ya tarano aratinyuka arayitabaye nuko iminsi irayitindira ataha maze shebuja mu kuzindukuruka abarana nabo ibyo yabasigiye uwahawe shana araseruka ati databuja mwiza wansigiye shanu uzungutse izindi shanu uwahawe ebyiri nawe araseruka ati databuja mwiza wansigiye ebyiri zungutse izindi ebyiri shebuja ati bagaragu banje beza nuko kuko mwakiranutse muri bike nico gitumye mbekurira byinshi ico nimuze mwinjire mu munezero wa shobuja nuko sebuja arayimwambura ayigabira wa wundi yiwungutse itara n'icumi igiye mu zindi agira 11 kuko ufite wese azongererwa ariko udafite azanyagwa n'utwo yari afite maze wa mugaragu mubi baramuboha bamujugunya mu mwijima hanze azize ubupfapfa mbega agahinda we itaranto yawe yikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye itaranto yawe yikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye mbese gufasha abakene gusura abarwayi ibikorwa by'urukundo gushigikirana imirimo myiza igihe twahawe aya mafaranga nizo taranto twasigiwe ngo zigire umumaro igihe tukiriho itaranto yawe iyikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye itaranto yawe iyikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye
Kama wewe
umenipa maisha, umenipa uzima, umenipa na vyote ninavyo Baba. Nakupenda sana.
Love you, Savior. Nakupenda sheri.
Hallelujah. Hakuna mwingine, ni wewe, hakuna Baba. Bado, 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 bado. Yalalale, yalalale, yalalale. Bado, bado, bado. Yalalale, yalalale, yalalale. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kapunjako mu nyanja amaiso aganguka gakwata n'omutima gwangu kabutwara ninzigora bokiwe ninzigora bokiwe aboki ijamutwale ogwangiriwe aboki ijamutwale kabaragaine tibetana aboki ijamutwale ogwangiriwe aboki ijamutwale kabaragaine tibetana abasaija nsangire bengini bakwegomba tunabanjuma banswasa n'omu bantu abasiba babimba banagansomya kibeire kiroto. I love you, love you, love you. Aboki ijamutwale ogwangiriwe aboki ijamutwale nabaragaine tibetana aboki ijamutwale ogwangiriwe aboki ijamutwale nabaragaine tibetana njako mu nyanja amaiso gange kagakwata n'omutima gwange kabutwara ninzigora bokiwe ninzigora bokiwe aboki ijamtwale aboki ijamtwale nabaragaine tibetana aboki ijamtwale ungi buliza aboki ijamtwale nyenda kumurira kalyawe aboki ijamtwale bisa bitutu kitwisi kyange aboki ijamtwale nabaragaine tibetana aboki ijamtwale aboki ijamtwale nabaragaine tibetana
Yeah, hear me? Over the moon and over the sky. Gospel music to the world. Kinsky and Fila, Tiki-Tak, combination. Yeah.
Forever I will always bless your name, Jehovah. See you always guide me, protect and bless me. To you will always lift my pride. It's only you can make me shine. If it's reach your mighty hand to heal me, to save me, and make me see another day. I wanna see you fire fall. I wanna see you fire fall.
Look before the young grip on the stress, what that one? Picking the camp on the place for box walk on. Yes, operation on the tip on them and look baby, yeah, they want take it for fun. Other streets them love for your place. Them can't find no race results for your gun. Yes, yes, yes. Tell us that Jesus make them on, make them come off and they watch and the fire be fall.
It's only you can make me shine. If it's reach your mighty hand to heal me, to save me, and make me see another day. I wanna see you fire fall. I wanna see you fire fall.
Jesus, wanna make your fire fall and touch me hard. Now make the devil come on, no visit me joy. Me call your mighty hand, we bless me soul. Bless me, I forgive Jesus, you're the one. Me not gonna live like a sufferer, heal like a sufferer, move like a sufferer. Jesus, I the emperor. Jesus, chocho wonder come and then don't give back to her. Police and Makuba gang in the village and the gang.
It's only you can make me shine. If it's reach your mighty hand to heal me, to save me, and make me see another day. I wanna see you fire fall. I wanna see you fire fall. Forever I will always bless your name, Jehovah. See you always guide me, protect and bless me. To you will always lift my cry.
Someone tell me brother, my sister, don't be bad, you man. Not from the chat of a man. You love and bless me, you did restore me. You hear me? Gospel music to the world.
It's only you can make me shine. If it's reach your mighty hand to heal me, to save me, and make me see another day. I wanna see you fire fall. 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 I wanna see you fire fall.
music to the world. Kimsky and Freela, digital. For Jesus Christ. Yeah, yeah, man.
Engineered in the heart of the pearl, one face, four perspectives, embracing a hip, urban and dynamic community, keeping dibs on the constantly evolving African scene, fanning the hottest talent in Uganda and beyond, inspiring beautiful minds across the world, literally changing the game on television. This is XXL TV Show Season 4. Go big or go home. Otherwise, be inspired.
One face, full perspective, finding the beauty and the talent of the people of Uganda. This is XXL Season 4. On the glass house this week, I happen to have the one and only Mr. Uganda, Richard Kawesa, on the show. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eddie.
And of course, Engineer Pete Nyeko. Pete, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Are you Ugandan, Pete?
I couldn't be more Ugandan.
What makes you Ugandan?
I am part of the beauty, the awesomeness, the fantasticness that is Uganda. Every part of me is Uganda.
Okay. And Richard, are you Ugandan?
Yes, I am.
So what are the values that define you as a Ugandan?
For me, is every time I think as a Ugandan, I think in terms of being just, of being productive and orderly in what I think, say, and do.
The topic of the discussion is a Ugandan on a global stage for economic relevance. And Richard, you have been writing a lot of stories about Uganda, and so is Pete. Are we fit to be on the global stage as a country, as a people?
I am certain that we are very positioned to be relevant. There was a global entrepreneurship institute in Europe that did a study to understand what the most enterprising nation in the whole world. Okay. And Uganda came out to be the most enterprising. I liked the definition of their definition of an entrepreneur, so that they can then qualify their study. And they defined one as a person who takes a financial risk in hope for a financial return on their investment. Mm-hmm. And they looked at people who have earned out of that risk at least in 3 months, mm-hmm. and not more than 2 years. Okay. So that was their parameter of defining an entrepreneur.
Wow.
So they go out to the whole world to look for who qualifies there. And it turns out that 26, I think, point something, mm-hmm. is what we achieved. Meaning out of 100 people, 26 of them in Uganda, they fit perfectly. Now, it's not only the person who has invested and actually works there, but they also earn from the investment.
Yes.
Yes. And you know the next country that came number 2, I think Indonesia or Malaysia.
Yes.
And they were at 16 point something. That's almost
huge difference.
It's a huge gap.
50%.
So then,
Rather 100%.
then do you know the first world country to appear on that list? What number they took, and what country it was?
No.
It was Australia, the first world country, first world.
Which was a former prison. They used to send people there. The world was a prison list.
So that country there,
yes.
that country Australia came at number 26 on the list. Okay. Now, when you put that study, it's independent, but there's a relationship with another study. We're talking about our relevance on the global stage of economics.
Yes.
If you put another study that was done by Harvard Business School for 10 years, they also carried out a study. Now the question is, you wonder why Harvard Business School would do an anthropological study. What's the relationship between culture and business is what you should be asking.
Ultimately, if you think of, so business is a word which you can use to mean many things. But if you mean business as in entrepreneurial or economic endeavors, then obviously the culture of a nation, or of a community pays a lot of importance to that. Yeah, okay. Take, for example, a country where you've got a culture of people coming together, people communicating and people sharing. That probably has a consequence to how people will do business. A closed-off society will probably have a different one as well. For example, if you compare, let's say, Uganda and let's say, I don't know, Antarctica. You've just got ice, you've got penguins, and you've got, so if you're going to do business in Antarctica, you've got to think, what's the culture there? A few scientists maybe, a few explorers. So it's a different environment. But in a place like Uganda, you've got lots of people, it's a warmer climate, So obviously, culture ends up determining what type of business you would do, how you would do the business, how you'd sell, and how you'd grow, and how you'd make your projections, and so on, yes.
Okay.
And that's why I wanted to bring that comparison, because that's one study of entrepreneurship, and then this is another study of culture, which means one study of business and one study of culture, but done by a business school of Harvard.
Yes.
And who turns out to be the most culturally diverse nation in the world?
Uganda.
Uganda. Aha. Now you tell me where or which university or what course or which lecturer or professor is going to create a course that increases your appetite for risk to make you an entrepreneur. They can teach you economics and stuff and how you run a business, business management they can, but the appetite for risk. Now that tells you that if Uganda has such an advantage by 26% and the last person comes at 26 in the first country, that tells you we should be relevant globally because we have an appetite for risk in any market.
So if we are culturally most diverse country in the world and the most entrepreneurial people in the world, then how come we're still broke? Businesses that are set, that runs for 3 months, dies before they cross to the 4th month. Why?
The reason is simple. There's what we call an enabling environment for any organism
to function.
Yes, a seed is perfect. It's brilliant. It has the raw ingredient to bring you a harvest. But put it in a sandy pit and don't give it water and sunlight and then blame it for being broke, for not producing. Can you? So Uganda having these endowments of risk-taking, the idea that someone doesn't have enough money but they still feel they can go out and serve, because entrepreneurship and business is about serving. Yes, and somebody feels I need to go out and serve. I have something to contribute. That's not brokenness. That is abundancy, that I have something to offer the world. Now, if the world doesn't give me a monetary reward for that input, you can't blame that on me.
So who should take that blame?
I think it's not about blame. It's about understanding and recognizing what is the most conducive environment that we should be able to grow entrepreneurs in, and what systems and financing mechanisms and ideological mechanisms can we put in place to support already a seed that has potential in itself. And that could be by leadership and governance. It could be by the way development partners look at Africa in terms of aid and say, no, not aid, let's do development financing, meaning let's have more people investing more of that money, not through government, but directly by saying, Eddie has something beautiful, XXL. What can we do to create that product and actually share it with the rest of the world?
Yes.
Those are the enabling environments that don't necessarily come from governance, but from the world, the community of business people who are able to see these opportunities and tap into them.
Okay, Pete, you are in agriculture.
Yes.
And adding value to agriculture. What do you have to say about this in relation to what Richard has just said?
I mean, to add on what Richard has just said, ultimately, I guess what we're talking about is the importance of incubation.
Yes.
And acceleration.
Yeah. Yes.
It's important, you know, as with any seed, once you plant it, to water it, make sure you plant it on the right soil. You know, check the soil before you plant it. So you got to figure out, okay, have I chosen the right idea? Is it based on a pressing need? Is it a solution to a need? Is it leading to the better, you know, embetterment of the community and every stakeholder? Then you nurture it,
okay.
You water it, and you look after it. You plan for it and make sure nothing attacks it, and then you grow it, harvest it, post-harvest handling, process it, add value to it, market it, but ideally keep some seeds for the next season.
Yes.
But in all that, you'd have planned ahead. You'd have known what the market needs, and you would have responded. So you would have found a way to make your plans based on what you have and what the world needs, and then come in with innovation, and then nurture and incubate, and then accelerate it, expand and replicate, and keep it sustainable.
Okay, but is that our case today, given this study?
I think it is our case. I think ultimately, when we look at ourselves, we should think and say, great, I mean, where are we? And how far could we go? At the moment, you know, without any irrigation, 2 seasons a year, anywhere in the country. With irrigation, we could probably do 3 or 4 seasons a year. Without value addition, we're making by. I mean, people are doing okay. With value addition everywhere, think about how much more we would earn with that value addition coming in. With a keener understanding of what the marketplace is like locally, regionally, and globally, and based on the soils we have, the temperatures we have, the weather, and kind of the industriousness of the people, everyone's grandmother has a coffee bush. I mean, think about it. Imagine if, you know, if you had a kilo of coffee, I think it's about $2,000. 1,000 cappuccinos is more than $2,000, but it doesn't take a kilo.
We're going on a break, and when the show comes back, we will be talking about have we created the right environment? Have we gotten it right? Where are we getting it wrong? What should we do? Who does what? The president, many powers. Who can we share the power? What? We'll come back. Welcome back. This is XXL Season 4, and this is the Glass House. Of course, with Richard Kawesa and engineer Pete Nyeko. We are the most entrepreneurial country in the world.
Yes.
Okay? And the most culturally diverse. Are we taking the advantage of this? Let's stop beating around the bush. Just get to the point. Are we taking the advantage of this in the global stage?
I don't think we are.
Yes.
Because the people probably who sit in positions of leadership do not necessarily appreciate some of these studies. Not necessarily even appreciate. Probably some of them don't even know these studies were done.
Yeah.
And if those who know. I was sharing with the deputy governor, Mwami Kasekende, and I was telling him about this study. And I said, do you have strategists who interpret these thoughts and know their implication? It's one thing to have information.
Yes.
It's another thing to know what does it mean and what do we need to do. And then it's a third thing to say, this is then what we've decided to do. So in our new policy now, for example, Uganda should be able to say we have an intellectual property policy in place. Because then intellectual property will take care of shea butter, because then it has, there's what they call a geographical indication, where if something is unique to your terrain, like coffee that comes from the islands in Ethiopia, they're able to get some basic revenue out of intellectual property based on that principle from Starbucks. And it's an income. Why? Because you can't call it any other coffee other than Ethiopian. Why? Because the soils that bring out a certain aroma and taste to that coffee are only reserved in Ethiopia.
Yes.
The same would apply for Mountain Elgon coffee that comes from Rwenzori. The same would go for the shea butter, as you mentioned. Yes. The same would go for the type of music we produce in Uganda. It goes for, I don't know whether tilapia is also one of the unique aspects, but as a country, we have too many unique things that the world needs out there that are so organic, that are so unique to us, but still we don't understand that that's intellectual property. And therefore, in the absence of that, how then can we grow our intellectual property on a global stage so we can start earning from that?
When I think of Uganda, I think of every Ugandan, not one or two or three. Yes. And I think of every Ugandan who thinks about the issues that are around them, the issues that are closest to them, and looks at these issues not as a problem, but as an opportunity to create a solution that actually makes Uganda and the world a much better place. And if I take an example of what has happened in the US, it's a great country, Silicon Valley. Think of how the private sector has actually led this. It is possible that with private sector intervention, benevolent private sector looking at conscious capitalism, looking at social entrepreneurship, looking at a sustainable future, looking at sustainable development, and giving a helping hand to the public sector and civil society and the community, and actually setting up incubation centers. There are a few already in Uganda, but building up on that and saying, great, what are we good at? What can we be good at? What could we be good at? What does the world need? How can we meet that need? Think of it, one crazy example. We've got lots of amazing young people with great, bright minds. Could we possibly be, an interesting place where everyone comes to get their algorithms and their mathematical equations solved for the next space launch? Uganda could be, a backup to NASA and ESA. It could be. Why not? Okay. And there's so many things which could happen. All it needs is that nurturing and so on. And I honestly believe, as someone in the private sector, that we in the private sector should actually take that baton and run with it.
But there is the political environment that I don't want us to look at very lightly. You could say, yes, the mother should support their child to create a lovely home. But when the father is drunk half of the time and comes back in a certain mood, I don't think it's achievable to say that you would have peace in that home, even in the presence of a mother who cares and the fun-loving kids who are there. And so I still go back to the environment that, yes, the private sector has played its part. We've seen the private sector. We've seen WBS is private sector. They came into a space where no one was.
They were
bold enough to whatever. But then what happened when they faltered on their what was the caning aspect? And when it was taken, who took it? Was it a Ugandan environment that took it on and said, okay, we understand you had a problem on that, but this investment was so critical for our information dissemination as a nation and for growing our own in the TV, whatever, that we need to actually put more money, make it work, then you will recover the taxes and the money you put in. Yes. So that mindset that does say, this is my own, that the child who's misbehaved is still my own, and I have to make a commitment to work with them through their gambling. If that happens in the financial sector with banks, if that happens with incubators, and say we're going to create incentives to make sure that those who come in as private sector, we give them an incentive. We missed an opportunity with Kanye West. When he came in, there was an investment moment right there. There was an investment moment with this gentleman, Forrest Whitaker, because he got his first global award as a result of a film he played and acted in Uganda. So he feels a sense of relevance, of sacredness that is attached to Uganda. How have we benefited from that by creating, for example, the 27 Guns as a movie? Have we gone to Whitaker and say, sir, if you created this as a platform, could you design it in such a way that it makes us globally relevant? You understand what I'm saying? So the opportunities we keep missing is like rain keeps coming, as you mentioned. All the things you're mentioning are gifted by nature. They're different gifts. But what are we doing about enhancing these gifts? And the political environment, why I say the political environment, because when you read the Constitution, you keep seeing the president has a lot of power of appointment at every level. At every level. He is the authority on everything. There seems to be no one else. It's the authority. So have we harnessed that opportunity that comes with that and be able to say, have we created an environment that allows these private sector players to actually do what you say they should be doing?
We have come to the end of the Glass House with Richard Kawesa and Pete, the engineer himself. Mado ya Musa, twesala bukumba sivya Medusa, Tolina Kalimo follow Liluza, Reconnaissami, Beba producer, got chains on my neck and I'm looking like Kunta, wanna close, boy I'm a shooter, I'm the boss with a dream like Luther, Namuongo boy that's the hood I'm coming from and I thought you knew that, thugs and drug dealers, body mukako, nah.
Why do I rap? I rap because I want to talk about stuff that other people don't talk about. I want to inspire people. I want to be the voice to the voiceless. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs, no.
Wafuka so mean. In fact, Osinga I mean. Chirabikoli half man, half machine. And Mununzira Bakubuli street. Buri chimwe chicho cha gunpoint. My nigga, tell us the point. Power to the people. Tebicha kola kubanga nobulula baniga babubba. Ba good cop, baba kuba masasi. Our only hope, ne baba kwata. Ba MPs, baba kuba kalimo lufu na kalulu nebebaka. Katita moje kwata ko. This is Leo Rich, rated fresh on XXL.
Hi, my name is Ido Atochom, and I'm here to tell you 4 things that Uganda should fix. Number 1, time management. I reject this notion of African time. This business of starting meetings 2 hours late should stop. We have many things to do in our life. Number 2, dishonesty. You give a person 100,000 to do a small errand for you. He wants to save 20K out of that. It's just 100K. You can make money elsewhere. Leave my 100K and do what I told you to do. Number 3, greed. You read in the papers every other day, so-and-so has eaten this amount of money, so-and-so has done this, a district plan has stolen this. I mean, you cannot eat everything in this world. And lastly for me, really, is about whining. You know, this advent of social media now, you go on Facebook, everybody has negative energy. Kanye shouldn't have come, should have gone to Rwanda, stuff like that. Man, stop whining. Facebook should help you market yourself, make money out of it, instead of quarreling every other day about politicians, about this, about that, about this. Stop it. And my name is Edward Ochom, and I just fixed you.
Coming up on the show this week, I catch up with my long-term friend, Sylvester Kabombo, a man of great value to the hip-hop industry, the man who is turning around lives of young people and young girls and giving them a positive life and a life to live. And this man has been all over the place, trained so many young people, but also he's transformed his life from being a rapper to almost a philanthropist.
Yokolanga biganye nemerako batagaliza basuse nemerako gumikiriza nemerako tuli balumungo wangudde nemerako yokolanga byesibye nnyo nemerako n'abatesi beetawula nnyo nemerako gumikiriza nemerako tuli balumungo wangudde nemerako.
Who is Sylvester Kabombo?
Sylvester Kabombo is a rapper from the duo commonly known as Sylvester and Abrams. We've been kicking together for a very long time. As educator, entrepreneur, and so many other freelance, things that might come in. I'm a performing artist. Amidst all other stuff I do, I still perform on stage. So wherever there is dime, I try to,
to dip your hand in.
Yeah. Because as you know, so you need more avenues of earning.
You have been in the music industry for a while now. And obviously you come out from the crop of artists who are trying to turn things in the industry around to try and give it meaning. What has the journey been like for you so far?
It hasn't been an easy one. Nothing is really easy. Music is like any other business. You have losses, you have gains, you persist. Of course there are successful stories. You wake up one day and you feel alive. Then the next day you're like, I wish I didn't start this, So, those moments when power goes off on stage when you're performing, you're like, oh my God. Then the next day you get a gig, you paid a lot of money. So there are success stories and non-success.
Basically there are lows and highs.
Yeah, they're there. It has been a bumpy ride from way back to now. A lot has changed to support the arts. So many platforms, so many gigs now, so many connections. Then social media, which took over the sector. So many TV stations. So there's so many of everything now. So many artists. Yeah.
Okay. Which you guys didn't have when you were coming up?
Yeah, I mean I might not even take you way back. Just the early 2000s. There were a few stations, a few radio stations. Facebook wasn't there then. MySpace, because I got to know Facebook and MySpace around the mid 2000s. So you can see just close there. If you compare now and just early 2000s, there's a huge difference. Now so many things are done on phone. Your phone has everything, the email, the what.
Yes. It also has everyone.
Yeah, I rarely visit an internet cafe. So all that has changed. Like, the gadgets they have put, almost everything that, in our hands. At times you used to walk a distance, do something. Now you do it, within, your place of comfort. So there is so much that has changed. Of course, for the good and the bad. So yeah.
Okay. Music as a business. Can an artist run music as a business?
It is, because there are many who are really getting paid. They have gigs every week, outside Uganda. Concerts sell. What you can say that is not selling right now, or just a few copies, are the physical CDs. Physical CDs, because people know they can get the music for free. Even if you lock it, people who create these websites are the same who create the apps. So CDs, yes, you can sell a few copies. You can make copies. For record keeping, you cannot keep a flash. So you need something that you can put in a shelf at home that is a CD. So some artists still make them, but there's not so much money you can really get, from physical copies. But downloads now, it's like anything now. Someone can download just one song, two songs, 3 songs. Concerts are still really doing well, even outside Uganda. For someone who buys a physical copy now, in this day and age, just know he really likes to support, and he likes to buy original content from the artist.
I am one of those people who really buy music from the artist.
Yes. So anyone who buys a physical copy now in this day and age, just know he loves your music, he loves to support, he likes to buy original stuff.
I come from a background where content is quite key. Do we have content in our music in Uganda?
If you're doing an album, there will be, definitely there will be songs that are life-changing. Apart from just telling people to party, but trying to inspire them to make the best out of their lives. Yeah, so they are there because sometimes we hit by these situations, the life experiences, as I first said, or people around us, communities. So that music will always be there. There always be music that can make you laugh, can make you party, can make you drink more. Music that can make you spend more.
Yes.
And then that music that will make you spend more, but wisely. Yes. Put something at home. Buy something for your wife. Make her look good. You know, you can have fun, but at the same time mindful of, you know, the responsibilities ahead of you. So there'll always be everything, but it depends what you dig out. Okay. You as a listener, what do you want to listen to?
Long ago, echanda mukaka wali olandiro digo bayitanga seka yali mukwata mpola nyonga mukubanjeza enjuta kukaka. Yes, nali mpankisa uwe waka ngomwezi gugwako nga tukyaseka eyo ewa muzeyi seka nga tewetugambula okuba kubanja nze nemnanca twaca canca kanyama yake tulya ku kyenca lwali lumu omu kubapangisa yesiwuka empisa olw'engeri gye yeeyisa yaduka ne sente z'obupangisa emyezi ebiri teyakwatibwa kisa siba kisa lwe lwasemba landirodi waffe otukwatibwa ekisa wowe.
Sylvester, how did you cross from just being a rapper to becoming a serious, you know, clothing line and you know?
It started in 2012, actually. I didn't know the direction. I was just printing T-shirts to, you know, to push my music further.
Yes.
I had a day job and a few performances as an artist. So I wasn't looking for money, but I was like, you know, instead of complaining about airplay, I mean, I think I can do something. So I was like, okay, let me make a few T-shirts and get, you know, song titles, print on them, post online, and
promote my music.
Just that. Yes. I didn't start with a business idea, and I never knew that it would really get this far. So even the first T-shirts I did were online. You take a picture, you post online, you give it to people. Then some people were like, "Oh wow, this is nice. How much? You know, some people bought, a few bought, you know." So that really made me reconsider. I was like, okay, maybe if I produce more T-shirts, maybe it can be a business, because already people are interested, and I was just using Facebook, post pictures. So that really, ringed, a bell, In my mind, I was like, I need to sit down and see how far I should take this. So I started getting serious, printed more T-shirts, partnered with the first partnership I did was at Equatorial Mall, because I was moving all the time, doing workshops up country. And some people are like, you need to get a point where anytime, any day, people,
come and find it.
Yeah, find your stuff. Because I was on the road, always on the road. So I partnered with a friend of mine at Equatorial Mall, started putting T-shirts there, started advertising on Facebook, shop, this number, you have to go there. People they got used to it, started buying items there. Then from there I went to Kamu, then from Kamu Plaza to Mavidi's complex where I am now. Yeah.
Wow, well, thank you so much for being a part of the show. And thank you too for being a part of the show. This is Double XL, of course, with Sylvester Kabombo.
Hands up!
Irene, being the very first person in Uganda, earlier on when we were talking to you, you became the first employee of Diwala in Uganda. I mean, what does that make you feel like, being the first leader of a new innovation happening in Uganda? What experience has it given you so far?
It's a very humbling experience. And I always thank the team at Diwala for giving me the opportunity, because I can tell you when they met me, it was about 3 years ago, but just chatting about, you know, what technology is in Uganda, how it can be applied to the education sector. It wasn't really, I could say, an interview. It was more me trying to give people some data and some information. And my CEO tells me that from that point, she felt like, you know, I could be part of that team. And I can tell you, I had zero knowledge about what blockchain technology is.
And yet here you are now talking like,
zero technology. And you know, now getting into Diwala and understanding what they do and understanding why they do it, which is very important. You know, it is important to know the reason behind your why. Like, why are you doing something? And, you know, understanding it and understanding its impact and understanding what blockchain technology can do, how it can improve our lives. It's really been a great journey learning from them. It's first of all a humbling experience that I'm part of that team. It's a humbling experience that I'm given the opportunity to learn. Very rarely do people take a chance on you. And yes, I have skills, but I believe I'm continuously growing. I am still being kind of beaten here and there. And it's humbling, and I'm excited to be part of that team. I'm excited to introduce the technology to all the people I know, my networks. And all I can say is that a lot is coming.
It is a CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okila on this particular day of the week or the month or the year, depending on which part of the world you're actually watching this program from. My guest this morning on the CEO Bench needs no introduction. It is said that if a person needs a long introduction, they don't deserve one. And if they deserve one, they don't need one. Ladies and gentlemen, all across the world, on the CEO Bench today, we bring you the story of a young lady springing out of Uganda, from the central region of Uganda. The name means something else, and both of our names are quite very, significant when you think about the words and the meaning behind the words. What the English people say is the etymology of the letter, or the words, or the origin of the words. Welcome to the CEO Bench. And of course, as my name is Eddie Okila, live on House of Talent Television is Divine Nabawesi, who is the founder and the CEO of Bamboo, Divine Bamboo, or Bamboo Divine. That's how now people call her. Divine, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Eddie.
First of all, how are you and how have you been?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here.
You are welcome. And the CEO Bench often look at people like you who are doing something significant in our society, or people who are doing something for others, or people who look beyond self. But first, we want to know from you, who is Divine in a nutshell?
Who is Divine?
Yes.
First of all, I'm very honored to be here. I know that you've had some very great speakers before me, so I'm very honored for the invitation. And as you mentioned, my name is Divine Nabawesi. I'm Ugandan, born and raised. I grew up in Entebbe. And I later moved to Kampala, where I attended secondary school. I went to Uganda Matters, Namugongo. And then for my A-levels, I went to King's College, Budo. And then I pursued a Bachelor's of Social Work at Makerere University.
Okay. Yes. And when you say you grew up from Entebbe, does that mean that's where your ancestry starts from, your home, everything? For a person who's watching you from, New York, or from London, or from, Finland, and they want to know more about you, they don't know these things. In Africa, we have the origin of where we come from. Is that where your parents spring out from?
Okay. So the origin story is, will sound a bit funny because my village is actually Nigeria, which used to be a village, but now it's not a village. So
yes.
Yeah, that's where my mother is from, and my father is from Masaka.
Okay.
Yes.
So authentically, you're a Muganda from Buganda.
Yes, I am.
All right. And then so they always ask, Wedirachi, what is your tribe? Does that mean in Buganda?
Yeah.
So let's tell us more about the culture of Buganda and where you come from, how you guys do things, the history of your name, behind what does Nabawesi mean for somebody who is watching the program from any part of the world and would like to know you. Particularly me, personally, I'm interested in knowing.
Well, okay, that is a tough question. that is a very tough question. But my clan is the Cow clan.
Okay.
So my name, Nabawesi, comes from Omuwesi, who used to be an iron worker.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Why did your parents give you the Omuwesi name that was a iron worker? And yet you were in wood and bamboo.
True.
Yes.
Maybe they knew I was going to be a creative.
Okay.
Maybe, I suspect.
And talking about creativity, all through growing up, what has been your creative thinking process like as a person?
I think that I draw a lot of inspiration from reading. I started to read at a very young age. I'm always reading. And when you read, you're drawn into this world of different characters from different centuries, and I think that opens up your mind.
Yeah.
And because you're able to dream and to know that there's a different world out there and that anything is possible, really. So I think for me that's been very important.
All right. Talking about that, your parents, your father and your mother, and your history from Nigeria, which is just a suburb of Kampala. For those of you guys who are watching the show from all across the world, Nigeria is just it's what we call a satellite city away from the city of Kampala. A couple of kilometers away from the main city is where she comes from. So technically, Divine was born or comes from the city center. That's the village. And Masaka is what, about 100 kilometers away, or 122? Is it 200 kilometers? From Kampala, yes. About 120 kilometers away from Kampala. Yeah. So she's a girl around about the city and the town. All right? And talking of that, when we want to look a little bit deeper on the background of Divine from the family point of view, growing up as a child, what was it like with your parents?
I think I had a normal childhood. It was happy, but I think mostly ordinary. I was able to explore and play as a child, so I think, yeah, it was a good childhood.
Okay, and what was your character like when growing up as a child, that when you look back at this point where you are right now, you can say, yeah, I was always leaning towards this? Were you beaten like a typical, African child who is always given a few slaps here and there for being stubborn? At some point, we would just see parents give you a look, and you'll know what the look means and what it does. Not very many people know this. How was yours like in your family? Are you the only child? Are you, how many are you?
Okay, so I have 3 siblings, but I think that growing up, I was a good student, what some call teacher's pet. Yes. So I was very good. Yes. I did my homework on time. Yes. I was excelling. So I think I always survived the caning because of that. Yeah. I was a good student. I also loved nature. I joined the Girl Guides, and because we were in Entebbe, we would go camping in the botanical gardens. So I always loved nature from a young age. I was planting flowers and trees already at a young age, so I was drawn to nature very early on.
Wow. Yeah. Which basically brings us to this interview that we're having today. So Divine, let's talk about you and the leadership. The program you're on today is about leadership. Change management, leadership, change management and transformation is what the CEO bench is about. We bring people who are, moving forward or climbing the ladder to the top of leadership, or coming down from the top as leaders, retiring, or people who are on the way, the verge of going. And right now, you are a lady on the rise. And the nomination that brought you to the CEO bench suggests that. We want to just know from you that your self-leadership, what is your understanding of leadership first of all, and what is leadership to you?
My understanding of leadership would be someone who is able to inspire others. So a leader should be somebody that other people look up to for guidance on, it could be a specific discipline, maybe a sport or entrepreneurship, but a leader needs to be able to inspire others to be better and to achieve a certain goal, I guess.
Okay. And what is self-leadership to you? What would you define as a self-leadership from a divine point of view?
Self-leadership, I think reminds me of something that Jim Rohn once said, that you have to motivate yourself, always. If you wait for other people to motivate you, it's like waiting at a train station where no trains come, so you'll be waiting forever. So you basically have to motivate yourself. That's the only way to be a leader, I think.
Okay. There are 5 different types of leadership, Divine, that exist. There's what we call a transformative leader or transformative leadership approach. There is what we called a laissez-faire leadership approach and style. And there's what we call a democratic leadership style or approach. And there's what we call transactional leadership approach to things. And then the 5th one is what we call charismatic. Which of these do you practice and why?
Interesting, because I feel like there's maybe one missing.
Yes.
And I would call it collaborative leadership.
Yeah.
Yes, because I don't think that in any organization or country or any setting that just one person has all the answers.
Yeah.
So I believe that it's always a team effort, whether it's a family or in a company. Yeah. So I think my style of leadership is collaborative.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And that said, Divine, just as we take a break from this, we want to take a break, but when we come back, we want to focus a little bit more about knowing you and, why you do what you do. And of course, to tell us a little bit more about Bamboo, you have been headlining all across Uganda and, even across border about bamboo planting. And we all grew up knowing that bamboo was a tree you can find at home. We played under, we picked the leaves. It was used for buildings, used for building shades, houses in Africa. And at some point it died. It started dying away. It wasn't now the main thing like eucalyptus used to be, the bamboo used to be. Mm. But you are in this space back. Why bamboo, by the way?
Why bamboo?
Yes.
Why not bamboo? Should I answer now after the break?
Yeah, sure. No, answer that one.
Why bamboo? Bamboo is a miracle plant. It's a magical plant. I first fell in love with bamboo, first of all, because it's a beautiful plant. Yeah. Have you been in a bamboo forest?
Yes.
Where?
Not really a forest per se. I would call it a bamboo plant.
Yeah.
Yes, just a smaller place which is not really a forest. What we'll say 1 acre is not a forest, 2 acres, 3 acres is not a forest.
Okay.
Yes, I went to one which used to supply the buildings, the places that build places for recreation in Kampala, yes. Okay. So they're the biggest, largest place for production of bamboo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my first introduction to bamboo, that is just a beautiful, magical plant. When you're in the bamboo forest, the way it looks, the way the wind blows through the leaves, it's just magical.
Okay.
So that was my first introduction. I fell in love with how it looks. And then as I got to study it more, I found out it's even more miraculous. because from just this one plant you have over 1,600 uses. So it's a plant that the Chinese have a poem which talks about bamboo, that you can wake up, a man wakes up in a bamboo house because bamboo is used for construction. You can sleep in bamboo bed sheets, in a bamboo bed. You can eat bamboo. You can use it for paper. You can use it for so many things. So it's a really magical plant in terms of development. And so for a country like Uganda, we can really benefit from bamboo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Divine, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will be focusing more on your work at Divine Bamboo, and what you're doing right now, why you're doing what you're doing, and the leadership in that space, the change and management of change in that space, as well as the transformation. This is the CEO Bench. We'll be right back after the break. By the way, when you won in Tanzania, that was your biggest cup, Sekafa. What was the party like? Did your chairman walk on his head? What was going on?
The chairman was very excited. I had not heard.
What happened in the board? We want to know.
First of all, some of the board members flew in to watch the game.
Okay.
The chairman could not fly in because of the schedule, but I was on call from the semi-final stage. He would call me all the time. Do you need anything? We're happy. He was very excited. I had never had a chairman CEO conversation this long with him. It was the first time.
Yes.
And everybody that is quoted to express was really, really happy. I mean, we beat Yanga in the semi-final. Then we beat Nyasa Bullets from Malawi, the champions of Malawi. And everybody was really, really excited. My family was very excited. My family is always complaining that I don't talk about them. My family was very happy. They were excited. I'm sure most of them are watching this show right now. The families of my staff, this for me is very exciting. The families of my staff are always following Express because their children are working for Express.
Wow.
And many other people. It was winning the Sekafa.
Yes.
Kind of cemented the kind of transformation Express has had in the recent times. And we have a Sekafa. Every time I look at that trophy, I keep telling my people, well done.
Yes.
And I'm sure the chairman, wherever he is, I'm sure he's busy, but he will watch this show. I'm sure he's happy that we have the Sekafa in our bag. We have the Premier League in our bag. In his third year, by the way. This is his last year, but I know he's around, but he had a plan from 2018 to 2021, and 2021 he has won all this. I'm sure he's very happy. For the first time, and we believe it's not the last time. Okay. Yeah.
Welcome back from that break. This is the CEO Bench. My name is Edio Killer, live on House of Talent. And of course, my guest this day or this morning, this evening, this night, depending on which part of the world you're watching the program from, is a lady who is deeply rooted into planting bamboo for a cause. Divine Nabawesi is the founder and the CEO of Divine Bamboo, a limited company, but for a cause, if I get it right. Divine, welcome back to the program. Divine, we're talking about bamboo and your life at bamboo and the things and why bamboo and why you picked bamboo. I want to take you straight to this question that I usually ask. In today's rapidly changing world, learning to design our organization to read the turbulences that are brought about by the advent of COVID-19, for example, creatively is quite critical to our existence going forward. And leadership plays at the core of this every time we think about it. You are thinking creatively in the space of I need to plant bamboo. We're talking about climate change at the moment, and it's a turbulence that is coming with it, forcing us to do many things that are not right. I want to take you back to that point. Why did you pick yourself and give yourself, and rather gave yourself the meaning and appointed yourself to start doing bamboo of all the things that you've talked about? Why?
Why? That's a very interesting question, Eddie, but I actually think it's the other way around. Yes. I don't think I chose bamboo. I think bamboo chose me. I think bamboo chose me because I really feel like it's my life's calling, my life's work to do this. Yeah. And so it was a natural progression because I already love nature, I love trees, and the more I started to learn about bamboo, I saw how much potential it has, not only for climate change, but like for rural development, for youth empowerment, for women economic empowerment. So there's so much potential there. I had no choice but to start engaging with the bamboo industry.
Okay. And initially you were in the construction business before, if we follow you well. And why the switch?
Why the switch? I think...
What sparked the switch?
I think it's related to something we were talking about in the break. Yeah. That a lot of times we do work that we don't have passion for. And so I felt like that wasn't my calling. I wasn't really happy doing that, being in the real estate sector. So I wanted to do something that, that would make my heart happy, while at the same time contributing to social and environmental good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about the divine bamboo. When you started